Hey, folks, we're back with another episode of Three Men in Anime here at, what is it, the 9th of October 2017? Yeah, that's what it
That
is.
sounds correct. We'll say that's
Anyways,
correct.
this is Peter Bowman, as always, and I'm joined by my good friends and co-hosts, Eric Carlson and Gav Leaf. How are you guys doing tonight?
Better than Gav.
I am being visited upon by Lord Nurgle himself. He has been with me for the last week, hence why we didn't record this last week.
Yeah.
Still sick, but screw it, because if I leave it another week, I'm going to forget this whole show.
Is that possible, Gav?
That's a complete lie, but...
Cyborg Nazis with belly guns, Gav.
No, you see, there you go, Eric. You've forgotten the first season already.
Well, the first
How
part.
can you forget Dio? I mean, it's the only thing worth remembering from the first season, but it had Dio.
First part, but yeah, that's a little bit of an overstatement, I think. But yeah, we are covering season 1 of the 2012 JoJo's Bizarre Adventure anime, not the original one that came out in like the late 90s.
The really terrible one, right?
It's actually good for its era.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, it's good
Yeah.
for what made it over to America for its era.
that's a fair point.
Yes. And I believe this covers parts 1 and 2 of the manga?
Yes, it covers the
Yes.
first 2 arcs, which is Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency. The first 9 episodes are Phantom Blood, and the rest of the 26 episodes is Battle Tendency.
Right.
And that is a breakdown of episodes that I think is completely fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dio might be awesome, but he can only carry it so far.
Unfortunately, this is the breakdown of series 1 for season 1 for me, or part 1, sorry. Phantom Blood. It introduces the basics of the Joestar family and
And Dio, yes.
And-
Hamon.
Okay.
Gav, you cut out
Yeah.
there.
much later.
But yeah, it introduces a bunch of... Part 1, Phantom Blood, introduces a lot of concepts.
Yes.
It introduces
It
the Joestar
builds the
family.
world.
It does. It introduces the Joestar family, who are important. We'll get to that in a second. Introduces the masks, which are very important. The stone masks, which are very
Yep.
important. Introduces Dio, who is fucking awesome. And introduces
Fucking
Hamon.
awesome. Yes.
It also introduces some characters who are either recurring characters. It also introduces the Zeppeli family, which is also important.
Yes.
Yes.
And it introduces the amazingness and stupidness and glory of Robert E.O. Speedwagon.
Almost
The amount of
everyone-
bad names that come out, it's great.
almost every single person in this show is a reference to a band.
Or a song, or something.
Yeah.
Suzy Q, AC/DC.
Lisa. It goes on and on and on and on and on.
Even Dio Brando. I mean,
He's named after Dio.
yeah.
Dire and Straits.
Yep.
Yep.
Tom Petty.
Yep.
Santana.
Grandmaster Tom Petty. Santana.
It goes on and on and on and on. We could spend like an episode just talking about the musical references. Let's be completely honest.
Yes.
Sticks.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Forgot to
Wang
stick.
Chun.
Cars. Wamu.
Kaz and Wamu.
I refuse to call him Wamu. He is Wham.
He did indeed wake them up before he went.
Yes.
He did. So yeah. All right. So
So
Sorry, we're
primary-
getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yes.
This is not something we're going to be able to do. I mean, we could do a somewhat structured. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure it's based on the manga series, unsurprisingly, which has been running for fucking ever, and still
Yeah.
going.
Yes.
One
And-
Piece ain't got shit on JoJo.
It's close.
One Piece ain't got shit on JoJo. Because one I enjoy, the other I don't. So
And that's fair.
Says I believe JoJo's has taken breaks in between, whereas
It-
One
it-
Piece just seems to keep fucking going.
yeah.
Oda has this amazing ability to just keep cranking stuff out and not forget his early stuff, which is the stuff he introduced in like the beginning, like 15, 20 years later, which is astonishing. Like, he actually references stuff that he didn't like the beginning, like, still.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like,
part of the problem, because I have to start with the beginning stuff, which I'm not terribly interested in. That's my problem with One Piece, because I can't just jump in halfway
There's
through.
no jump on point, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we could go on. We can talk about that another time. It's not.
Hey, we'll talk about One Piece.
We're here to. Well,
We're here for the glory of JoJo.
We are not covering One Piece.
No.
We'd never catch up.
Well, I'm caught up, at least on the manga, but you know.
It's because you're a madman.
Yes.
But we're here for JoJo.
We're here for JoJo. Yeah. All right. So
we are here for vampires sashaying up stone columns like they're on the fucking catwalk in the middle of a fucking inferno.
All right. So yeah. All right. So we're just gonna hit on the basic premise of the show because it needs to be talked about. So all right. We mentioned the part one introduces the Joestar family,
Right.
and the primary protagonist of part one is Jonathan Joestar, the son of, I forget his father's name.
George.
It's literally unimportant.
Yeah,
It's Mr. Joestar.
yeah. They at some point during part two mentioned his actual name.
I think it was George.
Yeah, I think it was George, and Jonathan's son he named after his dad, named him George, if I remember correctly, because his son's name was George.
But they're not JoJo's, so they don't matter. They don't count.
Yeah, this is the thing. Every single member of the Joestar family that is important has the initials J-O-J-O.
Well,
Yes.
it's usually they're referred to as Jojo.
Yeah.
Even the one whose first name does start with a G in part 5, I believe.
Oh, okay. We haven't got that far.
No,
Yeah,
well,
we're nowhere near there.
They haven't gotten that in the anime yet, so.
Okay.
So at any rate, we
Jojo.
covered yeah. So Jonathan's father is basically an English nobleman, and so Jonathan is born into wealth and privilege. This series starts off with a tragic accident, which is the death of Jojo's mother, and introduces to Dario Brando, Dio's dad, who
Yes.
shows up to basically pick through the wreckage and steal shit.
As you do.
Because Dario is a complete piece of human garbage. Jojo's dad basically sees him there and thinks he's there to save them, or at least that's the impression, and gives him a ring and basically says, we are in your debt. Which leads to eventually, as Dario's dying, basically cashing in that chip of family debt to basically foster his son, Dio, off on the Joestars. Which Jonathan's father, Mr. Joestar, is more than happy to do. Dio is this young, extremely good-looking, incredibly charismatic young man, brilliant and a genius.
Yes.
Basically, he's good. He is, almost everything good you'd want in a person, minus one important thing. He's also a psychopath.
Passion, empathy, you know.
Yeah. He's basically he's always lived under his father's whim. Not oppressive, but it's just like if he did feel some kind of in that way that the son he was wishing his dad would die every day, but he wouldn't do it himself. So there's still that little bit of family loyalty there, like honor among thieves almost. So he's built up this well of bitterness because he knows what a sack of shit his dad is. But he's still stayed and not really gone out and looked for his own life because he's looking after his dad, who, when we pick up the story, is he's dying, is cancerous and bedridden and all that sort of
totally Dio would never raise a hand to his own father. No.
No, never.
No.
No.
So at any rate, Jonathan is everything the stereotypical good British nobleman should be. He's courteous. He tries to protect the weak. He is a good guy.
He's as gentlemanly as one can be.
Yes.
He is the walking stereotype.
He really is.
And unfortunately, so is Jonathan. He is the fucking idiot dandy fop.
Not necessarily.
I was talking about Jonathan specifically.
See, Jonathan wants to be all those things.
Well, but he does. He literally goes in to stand up for a girl being bullied by some kids when he's young, despite that he knows he can't win the fight.
Ass beat.
Yeah, but he goes in anyways.
Suppose.
He does. He does the. Sorry, Gav,
it came across to me like he was the. He's got the idea of what a gentleman should be.
Yeah.
And throws himself into it head first without actually having a fucking clue what he's doing.
Well, that's as a young kid, that's the case. But it's very clear he develops over time into what he wants to be.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, because he starts playing rugby, so you know.
Yeah. So this is one of the first things we see. And he comes back to his home when Dio arrives. And this is the first interaction we have with Dio. Dio is a bit callous and such, and Jonathan's dog comes running up, and he wants to introduce his pet dog and best friend to his new brother, as it were. And Dio kicks the dog.
We're introduced to Dio literally with him kicking a puppy.
Yes.
This tells you everything you need to know about Dio.
This show, you know what? I can't even say the word that I'm thinking of.
What, subtle?
In relation to this show, I can't physically say it.
It's not.
No, subtlety is there is no subtlety in this show. Fuck subtlety. Subtlety is for the weak.
That's the thing. It's basically sort of saying, yeah, we're not subtle, and we're going to fucking embrace that and make it awesome that we're not subtle.
If you're not good
and
at
I agree, and that's awesome.
If you're the sort of person that watches like the the mystery shows and the thrillers and the overarching long plots that you've got to work out and spot the little clues, and you don't like that kind of shit, this is for you.
Yeah.
See, I like both those things.
I do too. And the thing is, the other thing I will say is that the show does not forget things it introduces. And
no.
It drops stuff that comes back later.
Yep.
But it almost never does it in a way that is subtle. It's literally something happens, you go, that's interesting. And 10 episodes later, you go, aha! I should have seen that. I saw that coming.
There it is.
It hits you around the face like a fish.
Yes. It's like a large trout being slapped across your face. And then filleted and fried up and served to you with a lovely set of sides.
Which it then is slapped across your face.
Yeah. So, yeah. So the first episode is largely introducing the dynamic between Jojo. So basically, Jojo and Dio develop a dynamic where Dio basically does everything he can to basically break Jonathan's spirit and make him, basically just break him and destroy him so that he can take over the seat. So he can inherit everything from the Joestars and take his rightful place. And Jonathan doesn't break ever.
No, he's tough as he's tough as nails. Honestly, he's kind of boring, all things considered, particularly in the company that he keeps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but he's tough as nails.
Considering the antagonist is the bright shining light of this season, Jonathan doesn't even cast a shadow.
In another show, Jonathan would be a good character. Honestly,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just that it's like, wow, he pales in comparison to the cast around him. But yeah, so, and it basically ends, with Jonathan eventually he falls, he and the girl he saved earlier, they meet up again after Dio basically, kicks Jonathan's ass in a boxing match by cheating because
Dio's an asshole.
Like
I could fight fair, or I could gouge his eye out. I will gouge his eye out.
After he was already winning the fight.
Yes. Well, he is sadistic also.
Yes. But, Jonathan and this girl, Irina, shows up, and she recognizes him. He doesn't immediately, until she basically leaves some grapes for him in a basket with his handkerchief he left behind when he saved her.
Yes.
And they form a friendship, and they start falling for each other. And this leads to Dio going, oh, well, I know how to screw Jonathan and break his heart even further. Where, he sneaks up behind Irina and forces his attentions upon her by kissing her.
Ha ha! You thought your first kiss would be with Jojo, but it was with me, Dio! Best line in the entire show. The end.
And the thing is, there are other
Eric
great
quoted
lines.
that line. Yeah, Eric quoted that line the entire time we were watching this show.
Because that meme is amazing.
Yes. But it was me, Dio.
The best part, though, is Irina's reaction.
Yeah,
she
she
proceeds to
starts gargling fucking puddle water.
because, like, yeah, fuck you. Which leads to Dio basically freaking out. And Jonathan, realizing that Dio's done something to his girl, proceeds to beat the crap out of Dio.
Yeah. Well, because Dio had beaten him once, so Dio was content to sit on his laurels, because that's how Dio is. While Jonathan took it as a sign that he needs to improve.
Yep. And did, and kicked Dio's ass, and Dio's like,
Yes.
oh, fuck. All right, right, okay, whenever Jonathan's in trouble, he gets stronger. That's bad. Which leads us to, that's by the way, everything we covered, first episode.
Yes.
This is why we're not going to do an episode blow by blow.
Jesus Christ,
because we will literally
dense.
be here all night.
They are dense.
They get through a lot of shit.
So continuing the plot train here, some years later, the Joestar Patriarch is sick and dying, and Dio's taking care of him. Turns out Dio's been poisoning him the whole time because Dio's a dick.
Yeah. So here's the other important bit is Dio after that first episode has decided, okay, new plan, be the perfect son and become Jonathan's best friend.
Yeah.
And just play it off as, I was young and stupid and filled with hate. I've adapted. I've gotten better. I will use my immense intelligence and charisma to make Jonathan like me. So he will never see me backstabbing them coming.
And we see that they do. It's almost as this is what threw me, to be honest, at the start. It almost as if like Jonathan forgot the entire everything that happened, and something major fucking happens. I don't want to spoil that bit, but unless I wasn't listening and you already did. Dio crosses a fucking line.
Oh right, Dio fucking murders the dog.
Oh yeah, that was in the first episode.
Yeah.
But
Dio.
There's no proof of it though.
Yeah, Dio does a pretty good job of covering it up. But yeah, he murders. He kills the
groundskeeper.
dog and throws it into fucking or arranges it so the groundskeeper accidentally throws the remains. No, he doesn't even throw in the remains.
No, the dog is burned alive.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Now, I will say this: it is worse in the manga where you actually can see the dog.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can
Jesus.
imagine.
They don't show that in the anime. You just hear the noises from inside the furnace.
Yeah.
Poor Danny.
And Jojo
Yeah.
glares at Dio. He knows he's done it. He just can't prove it.
Yep.
Right.
And it's like, cut to 3 years later, and they're happily brothers in arms and playing rugby together, and they're an unstoppable duo on the pitch. And what?
Yeah, and the
Okay.
best part is that after that, like Dio has his inner monologue about how he's good, how this is all a ploy, etc. Blah blah blah. Cut to Jonathan's inner monologue, and he's like, I still can't trust Dio.
Yes.
It's like I want to believe in him. I want to think he's changed. I still don't trust him. But yeah, we find it like so Mr. Joestar is getting sicker and sicker, and Jonathan's the big clue for Jonathan. He finds a letter from Dario to the letter that introduced Dio to the Joestars, and Dario is like talking about how he's sick and like he details his illness, which is matching up blow for blow with Jonathan's father.
Yeah.
And Jonathan goes, "Wait a minute."
Wait a minute. 1 + 1 equals.
Oh,
no.
fuck Dio. So Jonathan confronts Dio, takes the, quote, medicine. Dio tries to basically psych Jonathan out and basically play on guilt, and it does not work.
Yeah.
It's like, and so Jonathan goes off to have it identified. But he has to go to the bad parts of London, where he is ambushed by a gang.
Which he then fends off because he is.
Poor gang.
Yeah, Jonathan kicks
Yeah.
their asses.
Which is how we're introduced to Mr. Speedwagon.
Yes, Robert E.O. Speedwagon, the leader of the gang. And Jonathan kicks their asses, despite Speedwagon's amazing bladed hat.
Yeah, he's got the friggin' hat, Odd Job's hat from whatchamacallit?
Goldfinger.
Yes, thank you, from Goldfinger. And it's awesome, and he uses it once and never again, and I'm very sad about this.
Now, but yeah, Jonathan, but the thing, Speedwagon realizes that wait, John, you could have actually like completely killed us all. You're that much more badass than we are. Why didn't you? Well, I recognize that you all have families, so I didn't want to like make your family sad.
You, sir, are a gentleman.
It's like, okay, I thought you were just some posh fop. No, you are a real man. You are a gentleman. Nope. Okay, I'll tell you what you want to know. Fuck it. And thus begins their friendship.
Yes.
Speedwagon basically becomes Jonathan's, bestest buddy, right hand, and color commentator, I guess.
Yeah,
play-by-play man.
He doesn't do a lot, but he sure talks a lot.
And it's always entertaining.
Yes.
Speedwagon is not, he's not... The problem is that we get into the bit where, they're fighting, ghouls and vampires and shit, and Speedwagon is a reasonably competent combatant for a normal person.
He becomes Krillin.
Yes. Yes, he totally gets the Krillin treatment.
Just really, really quickly, like episode 2.
Honestly, he's not even Krillin, man.
No, he's really not. He gets Yamcha'd.
Yeah.
But he's awesome. Let's Speedwagon.
Yeah,
is
he's
great.
much cooler than Yamcha. I'll give him that, because it's not hard to be cooler than Yamcha. I do like Speedwagon though. He's really cool.
Oh, he's great. So yeah, they have this big confrontation with Dio with the proof of the Dio meanwhile has decided to take the mask, I forgot to mention the mask. There's this stone mask that Jonathan's mom, who was an archaeologist, or at least dabbled in it, was studying. It's from Central America, and it turns out if you get blood on it, it expends these little, big spiky things from the back that look like they basically prong into someone's head and kill them. So Dio's planning on using this as a unique means to murder Jonathan, and therefore everyone will look at the wounds and go, "What the ever-living fuck?" and have no idea what did it.
Right.
Not the worst plan ever, but... So he brings it with him to chase after Jonathan as Jonathan's tracking down the medicine. Yeah. So he gets ambushed by some thugs and decides to use it as a way to test it out in one of the thugs. Not knowing that when it does its thing, it turns the person, it pierces their brains into a vampire of immense power.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Dio is literally only saved by the fact that it's just before morning and the sun comes up and burns the vampire down.
He is saved by the sunrise.
Which means, to Dio's mind, he's just discovered an incredibly powerful weapon and its primary weakness.
Excellent.
So he's like, okay, well, honestly, given what's happened here, Jonathan will just get will have been killed by this area. I'll just go home. He's dead. I got nothing to worry about. Why is Jonathan here? And why does he have the cops backing up? Oh, for fuck's sake.
This did not go as planned.
So he's like, okay, fine. Well, right, next plan. You stab Jonathan, killing him, using his blood to activate the mask, turn me into a vampire, and conquer the world. That's my new plan.
That does sound like a good plan.
Now, before he could kill Jonathan with the stab, Jonathan's dad leaps in the way of the knife and takes the knife for him. But,
Blood on mask.
Dio puts mask on. Cops shoot him a whole bunch. He gets knocked out a window. This, of course, does not kill him.
No.
No, he's a vampire now. An awesome vampire.
Yeah.
Who starts eviscerating people at will.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kills a whole bunch of people, turns some of the people he killed into ghouls. Jonathan fights back and does fairly well against everything except Dio.
Right. This is where the scene where that I mentioned about the vampire sashaying up the stone column in the middle of the inferno. Yeah. That happens in this fight scene.
Basically, Jonathan sets the house on fire, throws Speedwagon out, and basically runs to the top of the building. First he sets Dio on fire. This doesn't kill Dio. Jonathan's like, fuck. Okay, building's on fire. Speedwagon, you get out so you don't die. And lures Dio to the top of the building. So that the entire building will be on fire, be super hot, and that way he can take Dio out with him. Jonathan somehow survives this. I believe there's an explosion that flings him out, so he's just badly burned and injured all over the place. with a lot of broken bones and shit.
Right.
He gets some pretty cool scars
Yes.
for the second part.
He is nursed back to health by Irina, who's the daughter of a doctor.
Always pick your future wife carefully.
It turns out.
Medical training helps.
Yep. And his family home's been burned down, but he's taking things in stride. As an aside, one other important note: Jonathan is a fucking giant for the era. Because he's like 6'5" and like has to weigh at least 280, and it's all fucking muscle.
Yeah.
He is a fucking beast.
The entire series is drawn like it's like straight out of the 80s, like Fist of the North Star fan fiction. That's how it's drawn.
Yeah, Jonathan. There are a lot of similarities in his look and the way he's drawn between him and Kenshiro. Honestly,
yeah, this is more than just his look. You think this show references music? It references anime a lot more.
Just a wee bit.
So yeah, so he basically pals around. He's basically hanging out with Irina because she's nursed back to health. They're in love. Everything's great. And 105 kilograms. Thank you, Wrathbreaker. So round about 230, 240. So I wasn't far off. He's a big lad.
He's a big one.
Dio is not much smaller.
No, he's slightly slender. Basically, Jonathan has that typical inverted triangle, where his shoulders are as wide as he is tall, but tiny hips, that sort of look. Dio is similar, but he's a little bit more plausible.
Yeah. Anyways, Joseph runs into a man with a fantastic hat.
Yes.
Yes.
Joseph's still recovering. Jonathan's still recovering at this point from his hideous injuries. And this guy is, we're introduced to him as, Baron Zeppeli. His first name is actually Will.
3 guesses of what he's referencing.
He is actually referencing Led Zeppelin. I mean,
yes.
Let's get that out of the way. Who proceeds to basically use his pinky to basically just slams it into Joseph's diaphragm, thus correcting his breathing and activating his ability to use Hamon, Chi, whatever you want to fucking call it. They call it they don't call it Chi. It's Chi.
It's Chi.
Yeah.
They call it Hamon in the series. It's a breathing sort of inner power technique that heals Joseph, it turns out. He explains he's been hunting the Stone Master forever, and now it's new master Dio. Dio survived. Shock of shocks, Dio's not dead.
Well, he is Dio.
Yes. He barely survived the burning, and proceeds to feed on a whole bunch of people to get their blood to heal himself.
In the process, making himself a nice little legion of the undead.
Yep. Because he's a terrible person, and is planning on conquering the world.
And also, why wouldn't you in that case?
Well, if you're an immortal, super powerful vampire, it's not a terrible plan.
Exactly.
Especially if you don't know there's anybody who can oppose you.
And there clearly aren't.
Right. So Zeppeli proceeds to train Jonathan in Hamon. Speedwagon pals around, despite he really can't learn it. But he's going to be there for Jonathan as much as he possibly can, because Jonathan is his bro.
Also, Jonathan clearly needs someone to call out his fights.
And carry his bags.
Yeah.
He is Jonathan's play-by-play man.
Yeah.
He narrates most of Jonathan's fights from here on out.
He's basically the one that some shows will have like the fighter explaining the intelligence of what he's doing by he's going to do this, then I know this, I've got the perfect plan. It's like no, you've got Speedwagon. He's doing the commentary.
Doing that.
You concentrate on fighting. He's doing the commentary.
They occasionally use a narrator for some. There's a narrator they use for some situations, but Speedwagon does a lot of explaining what's going on.
Yep.
In truly wonderful, over the top, oh my god fashion.
Yeah.
He's like
Oh god.
He's what's his fuck from the old WWF broadcasts.
any number of play-by-play guys from WWF history.
Yeah.
Basically, prior to
I'm thinking of the balding guy with the mustache from the 80s.
Mean Gene Okerlund.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Mean Gene didn't do play-by-play. He was a ring announcer.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
The play-by-play guy was Gorilla Monsoon during that era, if I remember correctly.
To be fair, Speedwagon isn't far off of Jesse Ventura.
No, except he's a face, not a heel.
Yes. He's got the build, he just doesn't fucking use it.
Well, he's fighting vampires. He doesn't have hormone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have superpowers required to fight giant space monsters. Which I feel like should show up at some point.
At any rate, we're told that there's hormone is like the energy you release from hormone is similar to the energy released from the sun, which is why it's so lethal to the undead. Okay, sure.
She is UV rays,
basically,
apparently,
and it's like hormone and the energy the mask uses to create vampires are basically two sides of the same coin.
Right.
Yeah.
Which again, that's actually pretty cool. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
And so they basically proceeds them fighting their way to try to find Dio, track him down, and kill him. This is the basic plot of what the main actual plot of Phantom Blood is. They fight their way through a bunch of undead, a couple of undead knights who were supposedly knights of Queen Mary Stuart, Queen of Scots, who were betrayed by Elizabeth during the surrender. They agreed to surrender because Elizabeth would agree to let Mary survive, but Mary was already dead when they did that.
These guys are cool, but they are very stereotypical. But at least for me, one of them is actually my favorite stereotype. He's the evil, the evil warrior, but honorable.
Yes.
I love that stereotype. I don't know why. He's a complete bloodthirsty psychopath with like death hair for some reason. He kills people with their hair. He's completely brutal and sadistic, but he's got that honourable code. He fights with honour and to a degree at least. His own code of honour.
There's the heart of a honourable knight at his core.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's Bluford.
I can't remember the other guy's name.
Tarkus.
Tarkus
is
I
a
kind of
giant.
dig Tarkus. He was just so
Tarkus is a dick.
gleefully monstrous.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a big dude, and he acted like it.
He's a big brute of a deathmatch fighting man.
Yeah.
There's a deathmatch that happens. So yeah, Jonathan beats Bluford and redeems his soul at the same time as Bluford dies. Tarkus is having none of this. Tarkus is like, yeah, he was my friend, etc. But his honor.
I
is
like
stupid.
being a monster. Being a monster is awesome.
Yeah, he was cool while he was alive. Now he's dead and a loser.
Bluford also bequeaths his sword of luck to Jonathan, but renames it the Lord of Luck and Pluck by putting a P on it in blood, which stays there for reasons. It's a magic sword, whatever.
Yeah.
So they run away from Tarkus, end up in this big fortress thing. Jonathan gets sucked into a death match. Basically he goes in to investigate something. The door locks behind him. Tarkus is there and forces him into this death match where they each have a chain clamped around their neck that goes up through the ceiling. And proceeds to wreck Jonathan's shit for a while. Until they come across this kid Poco who ends up, sneaking in, opening the door out from outside so that Speedwagon and Zeppeli can come in. Zeppeli we have a flashback to Zeppeli's, past.
Where we find out he learned Harmon from Tom Petty.
Yes, up in the Himalayas, and explains his whole sort of why he's chasing the mask, etc. Blah blah blah, and his fate, which is that he's going to die, but in his death he'll be able to release the strength of a young lion who will be the big savior, etc. So Tom Petty goes in to fight Tarkus, fairly certain he's going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does.
Like a badass.
Yes.
He goes out pretty damn awesome.
Yeah. He gets
basically bisected, and then spends the next 15 minutes giving a deathbed speech.
and bequeathing the last of his hormone to Jonathan. Which superpowers Jonathan, he busts out a chain and kills Tarkus.
Yeah, so they continue on their way. They meet. They come to a village where just outside of it they meet Dyer and Straits,
And
who are
Tom Petty.
also and Tom Petty, yes, who are all Haman warriors. The village has been taken over by Dio. Most of them are vampires. A couple cutaways showing that Dio is a fucking psychopath.
Yes.
Yeah.
And basically, we eventually get to the big old fight. Dyer ends up dying, as does Tom Petty. And it's basically comes
Tom
down
Petty
to...
lives. Tom Petty lives.
Does he live?
Yeah, Tom Petty lives.
Okay.
There's only Dyer that dies.
Okay. Anyway, there's a big kick-ass fight between Dio and Jonathan, where Dio is just awesome.
Jonathan uses the sword, channels his hormone, and cuts Dio mostly in half.
Yes.
Which doesn't work.
Dio says, "Fuck that, regeneration."
Basically, he glues his body together, and you have this wonderful scene with Dio's face slightly out of line, and his voice is like the voice. They mod his voice so it sounds like it's two voices talking at the same time.
Yeah.
It's amazing
Yes.
until he straightens his head out. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the second he pushes his head back together, the audio clips back in as well. It's
Yes.
little attention. It's like this could quite easily come off as a very just silly show, but you can tell
It is
there's
a very silly show.
it's a very silly show. But you can tell there's that little bit of crafting and little bit of effort that's been put in for all those little them. Like I said, it's not a show that uses subtlety very well, but it is there as well.
It's put
Right.
together really well, is what it
Yeah.
boils down to. The fight continues. Dio basically is able to counteract Jonathan's hormone by basically freezing his blood.
Yeah. Which is something we see him do a couple times earlier.
Right, and the important bit is that if he freezes, Jonathan, like his opponent's blood, hormone requires blood flow properly, which is it's like okay,
Yeah.
that again makes a certain amount of sense. It's over the top and
Yes.
silly, but there's thought behind it, which is really fucking cool. But Jonathan is able to eventually beat Dio.
It involves the two of them falling off a cliff and fighting while still falling.
No, Jonathan
And Dio-
doesn't fall off the cliff. He knocks Dio
Oh, he
off
doesn't?
after he finally lands an actual Haman blow on him. Jonathan
Oh,
stays on the-
right. Yeah, because Dio's disintegrating and he decides the best thing to do to survive is to cut off his own head.
which he does.
Yeah,
Which is awesome!
he's literally the vampires disintegrate from the point of contact, so he got hit in the chest. So if he cuts off the head, the chest and the body will continue to disintegrate, and then he'll regrow from the head. He's fine.
Because he's a super powerful immortal vampire.
Well, this has the theory. It turns out he can't regrow the body, so he ends up pulling the Futurama thing inside a jar.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, that's at the end. They destroy the mask. Everything's great. Hooray. Jonathan and Irina get married. They go off to sail to America via the Canary Islands. Shut up.
No, I won't shut up about that. I go to the Canary Islands on a regular basis. They are directly fucking south. They are so directly south that they are actually on the same fucking time zone as the UK. There is no fucking reason to go anywhere near the Canary Islands when you're going to America.
Unless you want to go to the Canary Islands first.
Ah.
I don't know. I've got nothing, man. So at any rate, Dio has been smuggled. Dio has been smuggled onto the ship in this giant armored coffin.
By the apothecary, the Chinese apothecary that he originally hired to get the poison, way back in episode 1 or
Wang
2.
Shun,
Yes,
who he's turned into one of his ghouls.
yes, because clearly, why wouldn't he?
Wang turns some of the passengers into vampires, starting a big into ghouls, starting a big undead apocalypse on the ship. Jonathan goes down to figure out what the fuck's going on, because he sees Wang and chases him. This is where Dio reveals, okay, yeah. Oh, by the way, when Dio's falling off the castle, he does fire energy beams from his eyes because he's just figured that out.
Yeah,
and-
that's right.
And if he hadn't been panicking and aimed better, he might have actually killed Jonathan there. And then we get this bit where Dio was standing there with Wang and monologues about how he's actually come to respect
standing there.
Well, Wang's standing there. It's Dio's head in a jar. I mean, and he goes,
It's amazing.
It's great. He starts monologuing about, the fact that he was wrong to hate Jonathan, and he's come to respect Jonathan's strength and his, fortitude and all this stuff, and he really should have appreciated him more when they were younger. And his plan he thinks Jonathan is the only person in existence who is worthy of becoming his new body.
So I'm going to cut off your head and stitch mine onto it. It'll be great.
And he's
I
gonna
respect you so much, I'm going to steal your ride. Wait, what?
And, he's going to make sure Jonathan's death is painless. If Jonathan doesn't fight back. Jonathan fights back.
Of course he does.
But, Dio fires a couple of energy bolts that basically cut Jonathan's, the blood vessels in his neck, which should kill him very quickly, but this is Jonathan we're talking about. Making the Jonathan...
This is Jojo's Bizarre Adventure we're talking about.
That too, yeah. Zeppeli spent like 10 minutes talking after he was cut literally in half.
He shouldn't have any lungs.
No, he was cut off at the waist. His lungs were intact.
I'm pretty sure he was high enough up there that he would have lost half his lungs.
I don't know.
It was just underneath his armpits, if I remember correctly.
Either way, it should have affected his breathing.
Yes.
Well, he should have bled out in like a minute, tops.
Yeah.
But this is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, whatever. So, at which point, Wang goes in to basically, to finish Jonathan off, and Dio's sitting there, okay, dude, don't underestimate him. This is Jonathan we're talking about. Just don't. Just kill him quickly. Let's get this over with. And Wang is like, bah ha 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 ha. He's fallen before us. There's nothing he could possibly do. And Dio's like, dude, don't it? Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Because Jonathan is able to use hit him with and use a little bit of his last Hamon to cause Wang's body to go fly off and like cramp up around the engine shaft, locking in place because he's undead ghoul who's immensely strong and powerful and can do that. And Dio's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
It seems like you just can't enslave good help into undead servitude anymore.
Well, to be fair, this is right after Dio's actually like chastised and punished Wang for daring to insult Jojo.
Right.
Yes.
Because, it's like, I've just said, I really respect him. He's a legitimately worthy foe, and I want that body. The fuck are you doing insulting him? You think I was joking? Did I stutter?
Did I fucking stutter?
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Damn it, Wang.
So, Arena has followed JoJo down and is seeing the results of this, and she's kind of freaking out. This one woman with her baby daughter has been killed, but died protecting the daughter and collapsed into the area. Jonathan managed to convince Arena to, Arena wants to basically decide she wants to die with Jonathan, but she etc. And Jonathan's like, okay, A, no. It's romantic, but no. B, there's this kid there. Take the kid, get in the coffin, and survive. I've been doing this to save you. So Arena basically sort of like, okay, fine. So she basically books it and survives. Dio's basically gotten a plan to save her, to stop things, but Jonathan basically grabs. Jonathan uses the last of his Hamon to basically do the thing with Wang, and it's basically broken him. But he managed to grab onto Dio's head in the jar and hold him there so Dio can't interfere with anything. Thus, the two of them, the ship explodes with Arena in the coffin sailing away, and the two of them die in each other's arms. Well, Dio's head in Jonathan's arms in the explosion.
Yeah, we don't know where Dio's arms are.
They disintegrated. Dio doesn't have arms anymore. He's a head in a jar.
That's the last anyone ever sees of Dio ever at the
Absolutely.
end.
Dio is now dead. He is never coming back in this season.
I have only one question, but it is one I will wait till after because it's kind of spoilers for the second part.
Right. All right, so at this point, we cut forward to 50 years later in New York.
Yep.
And we are now introduced to Joseph Joestar, Jonathan's grandson.
The best Joestar.
So, you know how we said that Jonathan was okay as a character, but it was kind of milquetoast and overshadowed by by Dio?
Not so Jonathan. Yeah. Not so Joseph.
No.
Joseph is amazing.
He is the best Jojo. He will be referred to as Jojo from now on, for he's the only one worthy of the title.
At least that we've watched, anyway.
So we're introduced to him helping out this black kid getting harassed by cops, but beating the fuck out of the cops, and then going, I just broke a whole bunch of laws. You know what we should do? What should we do? We should run away.
So Joseph is okay. You know how we said Jonathan was this, the paragon of British nobility. Joseph, not so much.
Joseph is all street smarts and sleight of hand and taunting mockery and wise attitude. He's great. I love him.
The thing is, he's completely he comes across as the irresponsible rogue type. It's quickly established that he is monstrously physically capable.
Yes.
And also monstrously intelligent.
Yes. He is very smart, he is witty, and he has a heart of fucking gold.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a rogue, but he's rogue in the Han Solo mode.
Yes.
He's basically Dio with a conscience.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Yeah.
He's not as cruelly calculating.
No, Jojo does a lot of spur of the moment. Let's see what I can pull out of my ass right now, kind of deal.
Yeah,
but
when I say intelligence, if Jojo had a scientific style, it would be trial and error. Lots of error.
Well, the other thing about so the important things about Joseph is, he's a rogue. He's a manipulator. There's no question about that. He manipulates his foes as much as he can, because that's the way he thinks. And he's entirely willing to run away if the situation requires it.
Yep.
It is in fact he often refers to it as his last and best plan. Like it. Just wah! Usually he does it to buy time, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we also see Speedwagon linking back up with Straits in Mexico, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Turns out that Speedwagon has managed to become filthy rich and developed the SCP Foundation.
Basically,
he struck oil. Basically,
literally, he came to the U.S. penniless, discovered oil in Texas, and became stupid rich and founded the Speedwagon Foundation.
Yeah,
and has been investigating things about the mask because he's a little worried about it still.
Yeah, the Speedwagon Foundation. If you've ever watched Hellboy, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, it's the BPRD.
Yeah.
This is another reason why Speedwagon is one of the best.
Yeah, he makes the BPRD. He's great.
It's literally, I literally can't directly fight the supernatural, but I know it's still out there and it needs to be dealt with. What do I got? Money, more money, even more money, and some brains.
It's literally that. It's like, I've seen the horrors of the night, and I am totally outclassed, but I've got money.
So I'm going to use my money to protect the world from the undead.
Screw the undead, I've got money.
You know what? I'm down with this.
Yes.
Speedwagon is a bro. So yeah, he meets up with Straits. He basically flies Straits in because they found this cave with stuff in it, and he wants Straits to look at it because he's like, I'm freaked out by this dude. You're the Hamon master. Let's take a look at this. And it's like, it's got multiple other masks in there, and this dude, like, in this, this pillar with a dude carved into it. Except he's not actually carved into it. There are life signs. There's a dude living in the pillar. And he's like, the fuck?
It's a guy living in the pillar who looks like he's stone, and he's surrounded by other stone masks. You know, the ones that made Dio into Dio.
So, Straits, what should we do here? What the fuck? How do we destroy this shit?
Straight's response is, let me get a closer look. You know what sucks? Growing old. Puts on a mask.
Basically, he takes one of the masks, kills all of Speedwagon's help, uses that to turn himself into a vampire, and beats the crap out of Speedwagon and throws him in the river.
Yeah. Leaves him for dead, but Speedwagon is nothing if not Rasputin-like in his ability to survive.
Yeah, he can't. He doesn't have much offense. He's got pretty high defense. He's got good constitution.
But it looks
And
like
a whole
Speedwagon's...
lot of luck.
It does look like Speedwagon's dead at this point. And news is filters back to New York. And Joseph and Arita's still around, kicking around. And it is awesome now.
Yes.
Yeah, Granny
Grandma
Arena.
Arena, yeah.
Yeah.
She is great.
Yeah,
And so
obviously, it's 50 years on now. She's what, 60?
she's like 70 something or other. Yeah.
She's 70 something. So yeah. So basically, it's her, and as far as I can tell, it's just her and
Joseph.
and Joseph.
Yeah, because her son died.
Yeah.
During the war. He totally died. He died during the war. He was a pilot and died that way. That's totally what happened.
That's how it happened.
Yeah.
And his mother died of illness. Yes, that's totally
Yes.
what happened. This is not what happened.
No. Just like the only other survivor of the boat, Christina's thinking that young baby, she's completely gone and never coming back into the story.
Totally unimportant.
No,
And Dio is
totally.
dead.
Dio's dead.
Yep, right.
Yeah.
So, and Joseph and Arena have taken Smokey under their wing. Because,
Smokey is the black kid that
Right.
Joseph.
Yeah.
And, Smokey, he's a good kid, he's smart, and, and Joseph's taken a liking to him, and so does Arena.
Yeah, and he sort of briefly becomes the Speedwagon of the group.
Yeah.
Well, he's in New York anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once they leave New York, Smokey's like, "Fuck that! I've seen what you guys are fighting. I'm staying here. I'll watch over your grandma."
Smokey's like, no. I'm an urban kid. I ain't going to no fucking South Africa.
I'm not going to Mexico. I'm not fighting Nazis.
Well, to be fair, I don't think Jonathan even thought about bringing him along. And I think
That's
he left
true.
him behind to keep an eye, to basically watch out for Arena, honestly.
And to not be a liability.
Yeah, pretty much. So, but the long story short, so they get the news at a restaurant in New York where the three of them have gone. And, there are people in the restaurant who are all getting up in arms about, Smokey being there because, it's the late 1920s.
He's a black dude, and they're like, "How dare they have a black dude here?" So
there's this
Joseph proceeds to beat the living fuck out of some guy that looks like he just walked out of like a first edition Shadowrun illustration.
That dude in particular is particularly egregiously over the top, and is complaining to one of the waiters, and the waiter's like, "Look, if they're paying, we don't care."
Yeah.
Yeah. Joseph comes out with something along the lines of, I think it's something like, I don't know what you're complaining about. They serve all kinds in here. Look at you, even pigs. Or something like that. And then the guy gets absolutely fucking schooled.
Yeah. Because Jonathan proceeds to they're about to start a fight. Jonathan proceeds to point out, "Yeah, I know you use brass knuckles. No, they're not in the pocket you're looking for. They're in your back pocket." And explains why he knows this.
Next, you're gonna say, "How the fuck could he know that? How the fuck could he know that?" Joseph does a lot of predicting what his opponents are going to say right before they say it.
It's always hilarious.
It's always hilarious.
Because usually he's maneuvering the conversation they're having to that point.
Yes.
And he's very good at reading his opponents. It's probably his biggest strength, other than his ability to use Hamon.
Yeah, which he does kind of accidentally most of the time. Yeah.
So he beats the crap out of the guy, and the dude is actually connected. He's a mafia guy. But the Don of the mafia family is like, "Yeah, whatever. The dude's scum."
Yeah.
They do
Also,
so much trash. Whatever.
I know who you are, Arena Joestar, and I know your connections to the Speedwagon Foundation. I'm not fucking with you. You're too fucking important.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. Arena is... She's a harmless old lady. If she wanted to, she could probably run New York.
Yeah.
The thing is,
No one fucks with her.
no, she is a stone cold badass in the brief time we get to see her. She puts up with nothing. She does not put up with shit. When the dude starts mouthing off about Smokey, and Jonathan's going after her, and she's like, "Yeah, take him out. Just don't disturb anybody else's dinner."
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, because
as
Smokey's
much-
like, maybe we should go someplace else. I know the score. You're like, nah, fuck this guy. I'm gonna go murder him. Don't disturb anyone's dinner.
It's
Yeah.
like you like. There's a brief moment where you think Marina might be like, we should probably leave too. And she's like, no, fuck that dude.
yeah,
You're
it's
our
literally
friend.
like-
Fuck him.
it's literally Joseph stands up and starts mouthing off, and Irina's like, Joseph. She's like, oh, fine. I'm sorry, Granny Irina. She's like, no. You can teach him a lesson. Just don't disturb the other patrons. Oh, okay.
All right then.
And she doesn't stop sipping her tea during this. I love Arena during this part. I wish there was
Irina's
more of her
great.
because she is great.
She's absolutely untouchable, and as much as a good guy as Joseph is, he is the hardest fucking muscle in New York.
Yeah. She really
He
could.
does dangerous man in the
with
city at that point.
Yeah,
She
and
really
he does
could
not
have been.
fuck with Grandma Arena. No one fucks with Grandma Arena.
She really could be like literally run New York if she wanted to. Like none of the mafia would fuck with her. They'd be like, "Yes, you are the new Godfather of New York." She doesn't
The
want
Duke
to.
of New
because-
York, A#1. We get it. It's okay.
because they respect her. It's not just
First
that like they're
order.
scared of Jonathan. It's that she has somehow earned this level of respect from everybody who comes across her because she's motherfucking Arena Joestar.
First order of business, rename this town to New London. York was a heathen's place.
At any rate, so the Mafia Don basically proceeds to tell Arena that it looks like Speedwagon's dead. And Jonathan basically punches him for doing it in such a callous way.
Right.
Yeah, the Don.
Yeah. And the Don takes it. He's like, okay, yeah. You
Yeah,
really get
okay, fair enough.
The impression is, yeah, I probably could have handled that better. Fuck. And Jonathan only punched me once. Fine. And so, Jonathan is, and they're warned that Straits basically, but I think they warned them that Straits betrayed them. Again, we're gonna get out of this recapping mode because soon, but this is actually really important shit.
Yes.
Yeah, there are
So-
important plot points, but yeah.
So basically, he and Smokey go off, and Jonathan spends a while basically trying to lure out Straits in New York, and does so. Straits ambushes them in a cafe, and Jonathan basically decides, okay, Smokey, you stay here. I'm just gonna go outside for a moment, and he runs into Straits, and he realizes what Straits is. And Straits basically says he's going to kill him, and John's like, "Yep, okay," and then pulls out a Tommy gun and shoots guns Straits
Yeah,
down.
totally just pulled out, like, Highlander is out a Tommy gun, like, just,
Straight out of Acme space.
yeah, just dumps an entire drum into him.
And this is where we learn the first important thing, that Joseph is not Jonathan.
Yes.
Jonathan would never
my
have done that. He'd have tried to
No.
fight him
Long
honorably.
shot.
Joseph does not believe in honorable fighting. He believes in winning.
Yes.
So he goes in and is like, okay, yep, all right, I'm pretty sure he's not dead. Yes, he's not dead. All right, time to punch you with Hamon. Why didn't that work? Oh, your scarf is made out of this beetle thing that channels Hamon well. Fuck. That sucks. By the way, grenade on your scarf. Leaps out the window. The dude's like, and so Straits is like, well, fuck. You think I can't handle this? Pulls a grenade off, throws it away so it doesn't blow him up. John's like, you should have looked at what that grenade was connected to. What? As the
Fishing
grenade,
line to the grenade to a bunch of others inside his scarf. It's amazing.
which pulls the pins of all the other grenades, which then blow up and blow him to bits, which start reassembling themselves.
Which point, he's recombobulating himself. That's, Smokey, I think I've got a plan for this. What's your plan? Run away.
Now, this is entirely to lure Straits out of town so that they can fight without actually endangering people.
Right.
So Straits shows up again, badly injured, with and has kidnapped a woman, and is basically threatening to kill her if Joseph doesn't fight him one-on-one. And Joseph tries to basically bluff his way out. He's like, "Yeah, I don't know her. I don't care. She's not even pretty enough for me to actually get involved with for this, etc." Blah blah blah. And Straits
You
like,
get a great little scene where the hostage is actually chewing him out for calling her ugly.
Yes.
later, yes.
Well,
And Straits proceeds to basically pull one of her teeth out and throw it at Jonathan. Jonathan's like, "Oh fuck, he's serious. He's not going to be bluffed out of this. Okay, fine, I'll fight you." And Jonathan wins.
yeah, it's mostly a way to show you that Joseph and they mentioned it a couple of times, but basically it has a natural ability with Hammond.
Yes.
So he's never been trained, but it just turns out that his breathing technique automatically activates it. So he knows how to use it. He's strong and all the rest of it, and we've seen him like handle thugs and idiots and all this sort of shit. But it's when Straits arrives is where we realise that yes, okay, he can wield Hammond. He's never been trained, but he can, and he knows he's doing it. He's just a rookie.
Right, and Straits basically, after losing, basically is like, yep, fine, I've lost. By the way, shit in Mexico is going down. You should go look into it.
Yeah.
More vampires. I became a vampire because, afraid of dying of old age. Also, I kind of admired Dio.
Yeah, Straits.
Yeah.
Straits at his core is still the good man, but he was corrupted.
Yes.
Yes.
But he tips Jonathan off, so Jonathan goes off to Mexico to look because it turns out the Germans are there and they've taken the Pillar Man.
Yeah, that's the thing. Straits basically pulls a Darth Vader. He turns good at the end, and he's like, "This is the reason. This is how I found it. This is why Speedwagon was investigating it. The Pillar Men are a greater threat, and the Germans are interested in him."
So right, and this is we're creeping up on World War II at this point. So
Yeah.
the Nazi Party has been founded.
Yes.
So Jonathan goes off to Mexico, and we get a bit of seeing what the Nazis are up to. They're investigating the Pillar Man, and they're being led by this. Their leader is fantastic,
Yes.
Rudolf von Stroheim.
Rudolf von Stroheim is great, and I wish he wasn't a Nazi.
Yes.
Now, just to address this before we get into it, I will state that at no point in the show do they mention Nazi.
No.
No, they carefully avoid that.
Yes, they are very stereotypical with wide flared pants and goose stepping and all the rest of it, but not to sound like I'm excusing the whole Nazi shit and all that sort of stuff. That's not the intention. This show does its best to avoid that. These are German soldiers. They are not the SS.
Yeah.
They are not out and out Nazis. They do not react in the Nazi fashion, especially even later on when Smokey's around, for example. You don't get any of that. This is the Japanese looking at the silly uniforms and mannerisms of the German army.
The big thing is they're playing up the German patriotism.
They're playing up the German patriotism. They're playing up the Nazi Germany's tendency to fawn over the ideas of super weapons and occult weirdness.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it was well known that Hitler was a big fan of the, into the occult. Hellboy played with it.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Rasputin's one of the greatest comical villains of all time.
Indiana Jones played with it. Hitler liked his occult and knickknacks.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just an extension of that.
So, yeah, it is a slightly... It is... The problem is that eventually Stroheim sort of becomes a quasi-ally, which is a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Again, it's like saying that every German soldier was an out-and-out Nazi. It's...
honestly, Gav, you kind of had to be a member of the Nazi Party to be a German soldier. It kind of had to be. They might not have agreed with the doctrine, but
yeah,
yeah,
there are problems. I will say to
it's problematic, to put it simply.
Stroheim's credit, he doesn't play up the master race stuff himself.
No, he doesn't do anything with the master race, actually. He's like, Germany is awesome. I love Germany. I'm going to do stuff for Germany.
So
they whitewash the Nazi thing. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
So, and Eric's completely right. I really wish that Stroheim was not a Nazi.
Yes.
Because he is a great character, and I want to like him more than I do.
Amazing.
Like, I would if it wasn't for that, he would be a big damn hero, honestly.
Yes.
But okay.
But yeah,
we have to get that out of the way. So they're experimenting with the Pillar Man, and they found Speedwagon and nursed him back to health, and been interrogating him with truth serum because Nazi super science.
Yes.
They want to find out as much as they can about this shit, and Speedwagon, And early on, Stroheim was kind of an asshole.
Yes.
That's
I don't know, he was playing up the whole,
evil Nazi leader thing.
yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
But dear God, that man has balls. Balls of
Might
fucking
not be.
steel.
Well, quite literally towards the end, but yeah.
Yes. So they're experimenting with the thing. They're like feeding blood, and they've got a bunch of local villagers they're gonna use for the experiment for their blood and such, and they're gonna kill most of them. So what? But he goes into the cage where they're keeping the villagers, and basically says, "Okay, look, here's the deal. You're here to be sacrifices, but I'll tell you what. If one of you volunteers, I'll let the rest of you go." And this Mexican kid gets up and says, "I volunteer to spare the rest of these people." And Storm's like, "Wow, okay, you're awesome, kid. That took balls. You are a real man. You get to go free. We're using the rest of them for the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you deserve to live. The rest of these shits..."
I didn't say...
The rest of you are cowards. Screw you.
I didn't say he wasn't an asshole.
Oh, he is. But there's a certain little bit of sort of nobility in that sort of recognizing the self-sacrifice of this kid and saying, "Yep,
Yeah.
you're awesome, kid." Yeah, Jojo runs into an assassin and kicks his ass in a hilarious manner.
Yes.
Jojo tries to infiltrate the facility in drag, and it doesn't work.
Oh, he really doesn't work.
Yeah, everyone's reaction is sort of like, are you... What's the deal here, dude? Why are you in a dress?
Like, do you think you're fooling us? Do you think we're that stupid?
He sees a bunch of local girls like being harassed by the guards on the post, and he's like, "Oh, okay, they have a weakness for women." And this 6'5" behemoth just shows up in a dress. It's like, "Hi, guys."
They're like, "We're not that stupid." So he proceeds to kick their ass.
Yeah, just the old-fashioned way.
And steals their uniforms, which don't quite fit because, again,
Fit.
Jonathan is 6'5" and built like a brick wall. Joseph, sorry.
Yeah.
So the Germans managed to awaken the Pillar Man, whom they dub Santana.
Yes.
Of course I do.
And assume he's just sort of this primitive guy who can't understand shit. They've used a mask on one of the villagers to turn him into a vampire, let him into the room. And the vampire goes from him, and the Pillar Man absorbs him.
Yeah.
Through his skin.
Yeah, just sort of like...
Yeah. It's a weird scene, because it's like, okay, well, they must be related to the vampires because we found them with the masks, so let's see what happens. Puts a vampire in. Vampire goes for him. Bites onto his shoulder. Head sinks into his shoulder. It's like, wait, what? Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, they've got cameras, and the vault that the Pillar Man is inescapable, etc. They're like, okay, they're talking. Stroheim's like talking with the other with the scientists, and the scientist comes running up to him, and it's like, Herr von Stroheim, I looked away for a second, and he's gone. And they're like, wait, what?
What?
But there's no way out of that room. What the hell?
Turn on the sprinklers.
And so they were filming the whole thing. So they develop the film, bring in a real projector and slow it down to watch what happens. And he basically he contorts his body, breaking bones and all this stuff to basically fly up into the ventilation systems. And
of course he goes up into the ventilation systems.
Now, when we say like sneaking, we're not talking about classic sort of sneaking into the ventilation stuff in cinema. No, he crushes his body into like.
You know the skinny
he goes
guy
all John Carpenter. He goes all John Carpenter the thing.
Yeah, it's like the Slender Man or whatever he's called from X-Files, but much quicker.
Yeah, and he's crushing his bones and he's going to reassemble them. It's just
yeah.
And during all of this, like stuff's going on, and they're all freaking out. Meanwhile, Joseph sneaks in just to get Speedway get out of there. And Speedway's like, "Who the fuck are you? What are you doing?" He's like, "Shh, old man, shut up! I'm trying to break you out of here." At which point, they realize he's in the pillar, that Santana's in the ventilation system, so they turn their guns on it, and like nothing happens. One of the soldiers goes up to look at it, and Santana comes leaping out of the vent into the guy in a remarkably just wow.
There's a fair amount of body horror involved in this.
Yes. The Pillar Men are amazing.
Yes.
So yeah, confrontation goes on. They like shoot him. He absorbs bullets and fires bullets back out of his hands. And they quickly realize that he's actually learned their language in the time that he's existed. That he's come back to life, because he's actually very smart.
Yeah, he's just been learning basically.
And he basically bursts out of the dude's body. And Joseph decides, okay, well, the Nazis hate this guy. I've done nothing to hurt him, so I'm going to try to be friendly with him and see if he's actually a decent guy. Because who knows? If he hates the Nazis, he can't be all bad. So he goes up and tries to talk to him, and the dude just basically, like, ignores him and walks away. And Joe's like, okay, fine, I'll try to trip him. Because fuck him, he's being an asshole. Okay, apparently, just while trying to trip him, he basically warps his leg around me, and my pants have been shredded and my boot's gone. That's odd.
That's not usually how these things work.
Yeah.
And they eventually start a fight. And we quickly realize that Joe's ability to use Hamon enables him to protect himself from the Pillar Men's various ways of trying to absorb him.
Yeah.
Delicious.
But Joseph can't. He lacks the training to basically funnel his Hamon into the guy properly. So Joseph eventually lets himself be absorbed. There's a great bit where the guy basically uses the Pillar Man, Santana uses his ribs as a weapon.
Yes. Oh my god. It like just you see the cracking and popping underneath his skin, and then these giant bone spikes spear out of him like three or 4 feet long. It's beautiful. It's great.
But Joseph's able to stop it. But he eventually gets partially absorbed, and it looks like it's going wrong. But it's because Joseph allowed him to that happen, so he can channel the Hamon directly inside him to blow him up. This does not finish Santana, as Santana's body starts dragging itself out. The remnants of his body start dragging itself out of the building.
Yes.
Actually, no, it starts moving. Joseph basically starts to try dragging it up outside to open the door to put sunlight on it, because they figured out that weakness.
Yes.
And Santana's fighting it and, slowing Joseph down, etc. Von Stroheim decides, okay, fuck this, I'm going to go open the door for Joseph. But, like, very bits of Santana come flying up and pin him in place, etc. And so Von Stroheim's like, okay, fine, fuck it. My leg's being pinned down by the bits of Santana, he's reforming himself. Jojo, get that axe, cut my leg off. And Jojo's like, you sure, dude?
Yeah, no, totally. It's cool. Remove the leg.
Losing my leg is no small price. Is not too big a price to pay to stop this horrible monster from destroying all of us.
Sweep the leg! Sweep the leg!
So Jojo cuts his leg off, and it looks like it's going to work. And he opens the door. At which point Santana takes all his bits and funnels himself into von Stroheim's leg.
Yes, which is amazing.
He enters through the stump.
It's what Stroheim starts just like bubbling and pulsing and expanding, and it's just holy shit, dude.
And he has this one line where he's like, "It doesn't even hurt. It actually almost feels good. This is awful." It's like, ha ha. So von Stroheim realizes that the Pillar Man is trying to force his body to leap into the well, so he'll be out of the sunlight. And von Stroheim's like, "Okay, fuck it." Pulls out a grenade. And detonates himself on it. Which mostly works. But, Santana starts to reform himself to leap into the well. And Jonathan basically Joseph leaps in after him. Jojo leaps in after him to basically stop. It slows him down. Basically, sort of, their thing. And is doing this because he realizes it's almost high noon. And then as they get down,
stop him getting to the water.
Stop him getting into the water, because the water will be a reflector and shine the sun right back up onto Santana, which works.
Yes.
And Santana is reduced to so much dust and ash.
And before von Stroheim blows himself up, he tells Jonathan to go to Italy to meet up with somebody there who knows more about Hamon to basically, to fight the rest of the Pillar Men, because they found more of them in Italy.
Yeah. There are 3 more in Europe. You need to get, not bad at this.
So he goes off to Italy, where he meets up with, oh boy,
Caesar Zeppeli.
he meets up with Caesar Zeppeli, who is a womanizing, flamboyant womanizer, smooth-talking, cocksure badass. And the two of them hate each other initially, because they are basically each other's antithesis early on.
Yeah. Because Caesar's like all about like the doing things properly and having the a certain aristocratic air to him and everything, and Joseph's all about being street scum.
Yeah. They initially fight. It's hilarious. But
there are bubbles involved.
There are. Yeah, Caesar's big technique is that he's able to create literal bubbles because he coats his gloves and shit in soap, a special soap substance, so he can create bubbles that he can infuse with hamon. It's actually pretty... You would think this is stupid. It's fucking awesome.
Yes. It's not to say it's not also stupid.
So they meet up with one of Zeppeli's friends in the German army to drive them to the Pillarmen.
Because this is Italy.
Right. The dude in question seems like a nice enough young man. He's got a girl that Caesar introduced him to. They're about to get married. He is so dead.
Yeah, he is waving death flags like from semaphore.
We go to we see inside the vault where the Pillarmen are being kept. The Germans are keeping an eye on it. One of the soldiers gets a bit close. A dial opens up in the forehead of one of them, and this big spike comes out and kills him.
Because he's a unicorn also, because that's awesome.
Yeah, the Pillarmen all have these horns in their head, and it seems to indicate rank. Anyway, so the Pillarmen basically wake up, come out, and suck all the insides out of all the Germans there, leave them these little sort of deflated flesh balloon things. It's really kind of delicious. It's kind of grim.
Yeah, they do this weird thing where they make all the soldiers basically just like magnetized to each other almost.
They fuse their hands together.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, they basically dash around them at super speed and merge all their arms together into a long chain.
And then suck all their insides out.
At once, yeah. These guys are pretty gruesome.
Yeah. They're awesome. Also, the Pillarmen's music is incredible.
Yes. The Pillarmen are the most fabulous eldritch horrors you will ever encounter.
Yeah. That is a really good way to describe them, honestly. So, our heroes arrive at the vault, find all the Germans dead, and gruesomely so, and see the Pillarmen leaving. They try to slow them down. The poor German soldier who's with them is in the way, and one of them literally walks through him. Literally.
In the process, absorbing
half of him.
Yeah, all the parts that actually contacted him.
Yeah, imagine like you see when you're in the bathtub and they've got bubbles and you just wave your hand through it and they take the shape because there's no resistance there. That happens with a human body.
Yeah,
it's just.
They are literally normal humans can do nothing to Pillarmen.
Yes.
No. They can't even physically touch them.
Nope. They just absorb them. This pisses Zeppeli and Jonathan and Joseph off, so they confront them. Zeppeli goes in, does his bubble attack thing, and one of them, the one named Wham, who's got these little sort of cords in his hair, that starts whipping them around to create little vortexes to destroy the bubbles, and fling the vortexes at Zeppeli and cut him, and it's painful.
Yeah,
and they reveal that
it's not really revealed, but each of them's got a specific an element, a trick, so to speak.
Yeah.
We've got wind, fire, and light. I think
it's light. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to the three of them: WAMU, AC/DC,
and Cars.
Yeah. And Wham is the honorable warrior type.
Yes.
And he basically says, yeah, they revealed they've known about the Hamon warriors before. They thought they'd wiped them all out, but apparently not. They're like, oh well, fine. And he basically says to Zeppeli, he's like to Caesar, he's like, okay, look, dude, you're not ready to fight me yet. Train harder, come back when you're stronger. We'll see what's what. But I want to see you when you're properly trained. So Joseph decides to get involved. And he's come up with a secret strategy of his own. He's got these little sort of these basically bolos made of metal, because you can channel Hamon through metal. It turns out. And he basically they sort of click clack, and he flings them around and such, and they don't seem to be doing much of anything. He uses sleight of hand to hide them and such. But he's used the Hamon to turn them into boomerangs, and one comes flying back and actually injures Wom.
Yeah,
Wom
takes out a chunk of his face.
And Wom's like, well, fuck. You're capable of injuring me.
More to the point, you ruined my pretty face for all of the 5 minutes it's going to take me to rebuild it.
You gotta go.
It's more the point that somebody's actually managed to put a mark on him.
Yeah.
Which hasn't happened in for fucking ever.
Yeah.
I think he says something like 10,000 years.
It's several thousand. So, he creates this, basically, he spins his arms in opposite directions to create a vacuum at the center, so there's this whirlwind vacuum attack thing. Which Joseph doesn't take full on, which is why he doesn't die.
Right.
And he basically, so they're basically planning on leaving, and they basically decide, okay, well, we got to wipe these guys out now because they are actually possibly a threat. And meanwhile, so while they're talking, Joseph is playing dead, and when they're telling him not looking, he walks away, falls back down, playing dead, trying to sneak away.
It's hilarious.
And Zeppeli's like, oh, that cowardly bastard. But it's actually, he's trying to get to the minecart so he can lure Wom away so that Zeppeli and Speedwagon can get away. That is his plan. And Wom actually realizes that and leaps onto the cart with him, and they go chasing down after him, and he's like, so yeah, what are you planning to do? Use explosives on me? And he's like, fuck.
He's got a stick of dynamite behind his back.
Yeah, he's like, God damn it!
That was my plan. Was.
And so they end up crashing down off the tracks onto this area.
Well, that's the second part. Wham's like, so what's your next plan? Are you going to sabotage the cart so we go flying off into the things? Well, let me help you with that.
God damn it.
So they crash, and Wham's about to kill him, and Joseph proceeds to say, yep, well, yeah, you got me. It's a good thing you're killing me now, because in a month's time I'll totally be strong enough to kill you.
Totally kick your ass. It'll be awesome.
And Wham's like, I know you're trying to manipulate me. Oh, I know, you're too smart for that. You should just kill me now and, not run the risk. That's the smart thing to do. And Wham's just sitting there like, okay, I know you're manipulating me, but this is too fucking hilarious. Fine, I'll let you live for a month. You go train. But just to make sure you don't just run away, I'll proceed to I'll take this ring thing and put it around your aorta. In 31 days, it'll dissolve and poison you and kill you. The antidote's in my lip ring. If you can come back to me in a month's time and beat me and take the ring, you can cure yourself. And
AC/DC's, meanwhile, was like, that sounds fucking awesome. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put this one around your carotid artery, and my antidote's in my nose ring. Hey, Cars, you want to get in on this? This is great.
And Cars, who's the leader, looks out and goes, we have an actual job to do. I don't begrudge you guys doing this. Have your fun.
Yeah, whatever, dude. Just, when you're done playing with the local wildlife, I'll be over here.
And so they bugger off. And Caesar basically is like, holy fuck, dude, what the fuck were you thinking? Just like, well, I got a month. God, I wish I'd asked for a year.
He's like, shit, I was just trying to buy time. I didn't know they were going to pull this shit.
So Caesar takes him off to go train with his teacher in Venice. And we're now introduced to his sensei, Lisa. Yes, his teacher is female.
Yes.
And she's also possibly one of the greatest badasses in this show.
Yes.
In
a show full of badasses, she's pretty damn badass.
Yeah.
Yes.
she's awesome to the point that I really wish she got a little bit more screen time to show off how badass she was.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't get quite enough in my opinion. It's one of the few flaws I have with the season.
We get to see like the one or two times where she actually does fight. It's not even a fucking fight.
She just destroys everybody every time she gets into a direct fight with everybody except her last fight. She just wrecks them.
And the only reason her last fight doesn't go is because she's basically double-crossed.
Yes.
Yeah. Because cheating.
Well, again, it's who she's up against would have been tough anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she never this is the thing. She never even comes close to losing a fair fight.
No, not even close.
This is true.
And on multiple occasions, Joseph says, "Yeah, she's better than I am." He fully acknowledges that she's better at the shit than he is.
Yep.
I mean, because it's not an important scene, so we'll probably skip over it. But there's a section like later on where they're going on a mission together, her and Joseph, and to distract them, a vampire attacks. They're chasing down the pillar men, and the vampire attacks. And Joseph's like, "Okay, I'll deal with this." And Lisa's like, "No, actually, tell you what, I'll deal with this." And because the guy is a complete like asshole, he's calling her out, calling her names because she's a woman and she's weak and all the blah, 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 blah. And he dives at her and she steps to one side and just walks past him.
Wrapping her scarf around him.
Wrapping a scarf around him for a second and then that's it. And then it just falls off and she walks away. And she's been doing this dodging him for so long. And the vampire gets so frustrated, he actually turns to Joseph and he says, "Dude, what the fuck is going on here?"
And Joseph's like, "I'm so sorry, dude. You're already dead."
Yeah, Joseph's like, "Dude, don't. You're already dead. Just don't." What? It just starts glowing and explodes. Like, the fuck?
Because her scarf is made of the same stuff that Straight's scarf was made out of. And it's a perfect Hammond channeler. So she just channeled Hammond through it into him. It's...
It's like I said, the dude doesn't even realize he's being attacked to the point where he's talking with his enemies like, "What the fuck is going on?" It's like, no, dude.
It's
sorry.
all over. It's done.
Yeah.
And yes, the reference is there. They do drop one or two "you're already dead" lines.
Yes. They do.
There's extended training scenes where Lisa puts them through various torturous training regimes. The rules of Harmon are further expanded upon, and we see them further develop their spooky tricks. So they have to go do their final exam fight thing, and that's when against Lisa's personal attendants, whose names I can't remember, which are also band names.
Yeah.
There were fezzes.
I don't remember.
Anyway, one of them gets dead real quick because AC/DC shows up.
It is. I had them on my screen a moment ago. Messina and Loggins.
That's it.
Loggins is the one who gets
dead.
AC/DC shows up. Okay, so this is important. We should. This is actually another important plot point. The men are chasing after this stone. It's a red stone. I forget the name of. Hang on, let me look it up.
But the main one of the properties of the stone is it really it magnifies any energy that passes through it.
Yep.
The red stone of Arja is
yes.
The red stone of Arja. They're after it. And Lisa is actually its protector.
Yeah, she's got it.
It's the red stone of Asia. Yes, it's Asia. It's Asia referencing the band because of course it is.
Of course it is.
Virtually everything is a music reference. Just deal with it. So yeah. So AC/DC killed Loggins. Joseph's annoyed about this because while he kind of hated Loggins because Loggins was a torturous teacher type. He also kind of respected him.
Yeah.
And so this proceeds to have their fight, and we get to see we get to see AC/DC's combat tricks, which are god-awfully horrifying.
AC/DC is the best Pillar Man. AC/DC's shtick is like his elemental shtick is fire. He does this by having like
it's blood boiled.
Ridiculously hot caustic blood.
Yeah.
Which he injects into you by creating thousands of tendrils out of his veins that come out from underneath his fingernails.
Or other parts of his body.
Or other parts of his body. You know, whenever it's convenient for him at the time. It's awesome.
Yeah. And so Joseph brought some oil-soaked rope that he can channel Hamon through with him. But he eventually which he's using to lay traps for him and shit, and actually takes one of AC/DC's arms. So AC/DC goes back to Logan's body, takes one of his arms off, and glues it where his arm was.
Because it's awesome.
And Joseph basically lays a rope trap, and he basically starts quoting Sun Tzu at him, and AC/DC's like, "Aha, yes, yeah, actually, I know, I've met Sun Tzu."
Yeah,
I remember that guy.
A lot of shit sometimes.
So yeah, he basically has laid a trick for cutting the ropes that he moved around and cuts the ropes Joseph's laid out. The thing is, Joseph has studied sleight of hand and knows all the ways to tie ropes together so that it looks like you cut areas, it'll properly cut them, but it doesn't, and has used that against AC/DC.
Yeah.
So he's cut all the wrong bits.
He's done the old magician's trick of how to cut a rope and then put it back together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he might have met Sun Tzu, he didn't meet Houdini. He was asleep for that bit.
Yep. And he beats AC/DC, sort of. Because AC/DC's managed to eject his brain and central nervous system out of his body before he dies and attaches himself to Joseph's back.
I'll admit, I wasn't expecting that.
Nobody expects that. How would you expect that? But it makes sense still. It's the horrifying thing.
Jojo's walking along going, "Wow, that was a hard fight. My shoulder feels so heavy." So, no! Look behind you, jackass.
So he goes back to the mansion, runs into Lisa's maid, Susie Q.
Because of course.
Who doesn't recognize him at first because he's no longer wearing the training mask he'd been wearing the entire time he was there.
Right.
Yeah, to correct his breathing, Lisa basically strapped on a muzzle.
Yes.
And he's been walking around this entire time, and Susie Q's never seen him without the muzzle. So now he's finally taking it off to fight AC/DC. She's like, who are you? Intruder in the castle.
He didn't take it off. AC/DC broke it off of him.
Right.
Trying to kill him with one of his blood vein attacks.
Oh, yes, it was, yeah.
And the mask got in the way. And so Susie's it's very clear that Joseph and Susie Q sort of have this sort of mutual admiration thing for each other at this point.
Yeah. They've been flirting the whole time.
Yeah. AC/DC takes over Susie Q's body and steals the stone and sends it off to Switzerland, where Cars is hanging out.
Yeah.
And then proceeds to basically go to Lisa's room to basically buy time so that they can't get to the boat and get the stone before it gets on a train. This is where one of the very few bits of fan service comes into the show, actually. Well, female fan service, I should say.
Yeah. I'm going to say there's all kinds of male fan service.
Yep.
By God, the posing.
Yeah.
So much posing.
But yeah, we see Lisa getting into the bath.
Yeah.
And Joseph comes in and is really, okay, what's going on there? Peeks through the keyhole and sees her naked. And he's like, okay, yeah, dear God, she's hotter than I thought she was. But no, I'm not going to go in or do anything like that. Nope. Then he hears the scream and he's like, okay, fuck it, I have to go in. And Lisa's like sitting there, gets out of the bath. She is literally is not even thinking about anything. She's like, she's not concerned about the fact that she's naked in the room.
Right.
Because, she's a stone cold badass, honestly.
Because she's awesome.
This comes to the fight where AC/DC's basically like, yep, I'm not going to let you guys chase after the thing, and in order to get by me, you'll have to kill Susie. Ha 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 ha. What are you going to do now? With Caesar and Jojo both there. He briefly tries to basically convince Caesar that it's Susie and Jojo and Lisa have lost and are attacking Susie Q. And Caesar eventually realizes what the fuck's going on.
Well, no, to be honest, at the start, they literally, they do a very clever thing. It's like AC/DC tries to use Caesar against, like you say, use Caesar against them. Like, it's them that's changed. You need to protect me. And in a lot of shows, that would have happened. Caesar would have been the dumb one who would have stepped in and faced off against those two to defend her. You'd have believed her at face value. But Lisa, being the badass, is like, look, we haven't got time to fucking deal with this. Caesar, you go down to the docks and try and stop the boat from leaving. We'll deal with this.
At which point AC/DC is like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Guess I'll cook the body I'm inhabiting to get you guys to fuck off.
And so Joseph comes up with a plan using the two types of Hamon, opposite types of Hamon.
It's a bit of Hamon ex Machina, basically. They do this a lot, but yeah, it's different things that Hamon can do. Apparently, one direct strike of Hamon would have killed Suzy Q. But if they hit her at the same time at different ends of the body with opposite charge of a Hamon, it's like a battery which will force him out.
Now, to be fair, they had brought up the opposite types of Hamon earlier this season.
That's true.
So again, it's like it's an ass pull, but it's an ass pull they've set up. Yeah,
which is generally what they do in this show. There's a lot of ass pulling. It is things that generally they have set up. With a couple of
almost all the things that seem like ass pulls, they actually explain. You go, oh, that actually makes sense within the context of JoJo.
Mm.
God damn it! So they finally kill off. Basically, AC/DC leaps onto JoJo, but the sun's beaming down at the room, so it destroys him.
Yeah. Jojo's, Jojo, you can't control Jojo because of the Hamon, so Jojo just goes and stands in the sun. It's like, there you go, congratulations.
So they go chasing after the stone, and they catch up to it just as it gets to Switzerland, where it is taken off the train by a bunch of German soldiers.
Forget as to what the name of one of them is.
Now they catch it. The Germans bring them along with them to the villa where they're staying. Cars realizes that the stone's there, goes there, scouts out the room that the bunch of people are in, murders them through the wall with his arm blades.
It shows him how fucking freaky. Another moment of how freaky the Pillarmen are. All Cars does, he stands outside and holds his hand on the wall, and he's literally like, 5 guys.
He's sensing their heartbeats.
Their individual heights.
Yep. Who's
sat, who's stood, where they are. Okay. Arm blades. Shing shing.
They're all dead.
All dead.
He walks into the room and is confronted by a sixth person who's in the room
that he couldn't detect.
And he's like, "The fuck? Why could I detect you?" And it is revealed to be von Stroheim, who is now a cyborg.
Getting blown up by grenades is not enough. I will now be a cyborg.
And he proceeds to pontificate.
Amazing.
And he proceeds to say that German science is the best, German medicine is the best, and I'm totally going to kill you with my machine gun that's buried in my cybernetic torso.
I have a belly gun. Fuck you. Your argument is valid.
Oh God! So the fight doesn't go well for von Stroheim, unfortunately. He is kind of outclassed by Cars.
He gets dismembered.
He's literally cut in half, but he's a cyborg, so
Yeah, so whatever. But it's awesome.
This leads to the stone sliding down off a cliff. Joseph and Cars go chasing after it.
Toboggan style.
Yeah. Joseph gets the stone. Cars basically try to pull him down with him into the thing where Cars will live, Joseph will die. Joseph ends up Joseph and Caesar end up forming a chain out of icicles because they can channel Hamon through it to bind them together.
Hamon travels well through water, so Joseph, on instinct, reaches out, grabs an icicle, and manages to chain a whole string of icicles together, which suddenly attach to another chain of icicles coming from the top. And it turns out it's Caesar who's had the same idea.
Yep.
And they're like, how did you know that would work? Because it's Joseph. That's the kind of shit you try.
It's the kind of bullshit he would do.
Because Caesar has begun figuring out how Joseph thinks, which should be slightly worrying.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they find out where Cars is holed up, and they have a big debate about whether to go in there after him, which leads to a falling out between Joseph and Caesar a little bit. Joseph sort of insults Caesar's family accidentally. Basically, Joseph's like, okay, look, dude, being that tied to the past is stupid. They're long dead, and Caesar's big into, family honor and shit. Also, his backstory sort of, explains why he's so driven on this.
Right.
And Joseph's like, oh, fuck, I didn't mean to insult him that way. Shit. I feel bad. I'll go after Caesar. But Caesar goes on to go infiltrate alone. But it turns out that...
But to be fair, Caesar's logic makes a lot of sense, because, it's daytime, they can't fight us right now. If shit starts going pear-shaped, we go outside.
Both sides have some semblance of have logic in the argument. I mostly agree with you with Caesar. I agree, but it's also that he's being. It's a combination of his logic is pretty good, and also he's also being really hot-headed about it.
Yes, he's being a dick about explaining it, but
it's also that he wants to. He's just planning on just charging in. He's not actually thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like Joseph and Lisa want to come up with an actual plan. And Caesar is sort of like, fuck the plan, I'm going in.
Yeah, you say, right now is not a plan. It is a time for the plan.
That's the real problem.
Yeah.
But also turns out that Wham's gotten back, and so we actually get the throwdown between Caesar and Wham. And it's a great fucking fight.
Yeah. So Wham's whole shtick is he controls wind. And one of the things he does is like, I think I'll fight Caesar outside in the sunlight by using the air to bend the light around me so I am both invisible and not set on fire.
Turned to stone, actually, but...
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Unlike vampires, Pillarmen are merely turned to stone by sunlight.
Right. They're trolls. In every sense of the word.
Yeah. But Caesar manages to do a few things. Caesar manages to use Wham's wind against him, actually.
Yes.
By turning his hormone bubbles into little razor discs that get sucked in by Wham's vortex.
By the vortex, yeah.
And Wham's like, oh, fuck!
That hurt. Damn, that was clever.
So he flees inside into the dark. And Caesar goes in. The fight continues. Caesar, there's the building's damaged, so some sunlight's getting in, and Caesar actually ends up using the light to shine through his little hormone razor discs, which are also lenses.
Yes,
it's fucking genius.
And the only reason Wham survives is because of his wind tricks. He's able to partially shield himself with the vortex shit.
Yep.
Well, no, it's Caesar makes his own fatal mistake. Because as he approaches to deliver the killing blow, he
blocks off the sun briefly. Yeah, he blocks off the sun. But the thing is that Wham survived long enough because of his wind tricks.
Oh, well, yeah.
If it hadn't, because Wham basically points out that if it had been Cars instead, Caesar probably would have won.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wham's like, fuck, that was close. If I hadn't gone back in time, he possibly could have killed Cars. Okay, that was good. And Caesar's last dying thing, he creates another bubble out of his blood and with the last of his hormone, channels the rest of his hormone into the bubble for Joseph and his scarf, and he managed to snag the lip ring and puts it in the bubble.
So when Jojo and Lisa eventually show up, see the aftermath of the fight, they're like, huh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, here, I'm not going to use this lip ring until after I've killed Wham and Cars. Out of respect for, blah.
Well, it's sort of his promise to Caesar that he's going to win.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, to finish it all off, it's not just that Caesar dies. It's literally a cross-shaped section of the fucking ceiling just...
Well, he was dying at that point, but
He was
yes.
dying already, but he doesn't get a goodbye or anything like that. He's literally just like crumble, crumble, and splat.
Yeah,
And
Wham
it's
could have.
the-
Yeah, the other thing is Wham probably could have done something about the bubble, but decides, out of respect to Caesar for being that awesome, I will. This is an element of respect for you. I'm not going to stop it.
Again, Wham is that respectful beast. So he's an absolute merciless killer. And he does state a few times, he says, you've given me like the best fight I've ever had. I am an immortal, and your name will live in my memory forever, and all this sort of stuff. And he's full of, it's almost Klingon to a degree. It's like, that was a fantastic fight. You'll go down in the history books of, as one of my greatest opponents, all this sort of stuff. He's completely respectful, and he says, okay, because of this, I'll give you this one favor. I won't interfere with that bubble. That's fine.
So Joseph, and the scene where Joseph, they find where Caesar's died. Joseph and Lisa are both just crushed by this. They're both broken up about it.
Right.
Not as much as Caesar.
Like, Joseph has this big thing where he wasn't calling out for Caesar because he was afraid that Caesar wouldn't call back, and that would mean he's dead. But now he is, and he's really
Right.
And Lisa's like putting on this stone front of like not being bothered by it, and she takes a cigarette to smoke it, and Joseph's like, "Coach, you could put the cigarette in your mouth backwards."
Shut up, Joe.
She
Shut up,
almost
Jojo.
breaks up. But yeah, if you're noticing a pattern with the Zeppeli family,
Yeah, they're kind of.
I'm not actually sure how any of them reproduce.
Osmosis.
Well, they generally seem to have kids before they go off to die.
Well,
I'm sure there's some bastard Zeppeli out there.
And as an aside, just so you know, Caesar's dad died to the Pillarmen.
Yes.
yeah.
So
just so you know,
the Pillarmen will still stone and absorb Caesar's dad.
Yep. We see this in Caesar's backstory flashback. So they go off to so after they have their moment of mourning Zeppeli, and because they were trying not to, but they just neither of them can hold it in long enough.
Right.
So they go in to confront Kars and Wam, and turns out an entire army of vampires. And so, like, the
literal legion of the undead, right down to wearing like the hoplite armor and the helmets.
Yes. And so, like, Kars like, oh, we're gonna kill you. We're not gonna bother with the fight. And Kars like, but Mom's like, I'm supposed to fight him. And
but I was gonna have a fight.
We have. I'm sorry, Kars, but no, we're just gonna deal with this. We're gonna get the stone. At which Lisa points out, okay, well, I'm not stupid enough to have brought the stone with me, and I left a bomb on it. So if we don't come back and disarm it, it's just gonna blow up. And you won't find it before it does blow up. And Kars is like, fuck. So she's like, okay, here's the deal. We'll have two fights. Jojo versus Wam, me versus you. And whoever survives gets to keep the stone. We'll bring it to wherever we have the fight. And Kars is like, fine. Okay. You stay here, Lisa. Jojo, you go get the thing. We'll meet up at this place over here. At midnight. It's this big ruined, like, Roman Colosseum thing.
Yeah.
And so Jojo goes back to get the thing, finds the thing with no bomb because of course there was no fucking bomb.
Right.
But he's like, damn, that was a good bluff. I respect that. Also, what's this picture? Huh? It's a picture of Granny Arena, Straits, my dad, and this little girl. Huh.
That's
I'm
weird.
gonna have to ask Lisa about this.
Dun dun dun.
So they come back. He comes back, asks her about it. She's like, "I'll tell you. I was going to talk. I really do need to talk to you about this stuff, but later." Joe's like, "Okay." But she basically mentions that the little girl in the picture is her. She was saved from the wreck of the ship. She's the girl that Arena saved. That the kid in the picture is Joseph's dad. As an aside, way back when it was mentioned that Joseph's dad married the little girl in the picture. So, we as the audience at this point know Lisa is actually Jojo's mom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which makes the bath scene a little creepy, but I will point out Joseph said, "Oh my God, she's hot," but still didn't do anything to go at lust after her particularly. So
right. Also, Lisa looks like she's maybe 30. Turns out Harmon's really good for the skin.
Yeah. So we have the big fights. It turns out the first one, Wam's challenges Jojo to this like old style Roman chariot fight, complete with vampire horses, because of course they're vampire horses.
Of course, they're vampire horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. The big fight lasts like an episode and a half, I think, between Joseph and Wham, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
And it's fucking epic. It is a fantastic battle with all sorts of trickery on both sides.
Yep.
Wham, both of them being stone cold badasses in their own ways. Twists and turns, and it's a great fight. We're not going to spoil any of it.
Right.
But Joseph wins. Through some really good chicanery, basically using Wham's ability to suck vacuum the air in to turn into a giant scything cutting beam against him. And Joseph shows him respect at the end to basically uses some of his blood to make Wham's death less painful. And Wham's sort of pitting him, and Joseph basically turns Wham's line about it not being sentiment with the bubble, letting the bubble escape again back on him, and Wham's like, okay, goddamn.
All right, fine.
You're
fine.
awesome. That's I can accept that. And at which point a bunch of the vampires decide to attack Joseph. So Wham uses a crossbow to launch his head at them and kills them with his horn. It's great. It's like, no, you will not disrespect his victory.
He takes his severed head, uses his hair to pull back the bow on a crossbow, loads his own severed head into the crossbow, and fires it through the vampires.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. It makes no sense.
But it's so good, you don't care. And thus we get to the Cars versus Lisa fight. A bunch of vampires get in the way, Lisa kicks their asses, more of them are in the way, Cars kills them because fuck you guys.
Yeah, what it is, when Wham loses, the vampires just go, oh shit, well he's weak, get him! And Cars actually kills them and says, no, fuck you guys.
Well, Lisa does kill a couple of them. By basically
killing Cars stops him in the track, tells him to stop. Lisa's like, well, you promised us a fair fight. And he goes, yep, I'm a man of my word. There will be a fair fight. And she's like, well, what about the vampires? What? Oh, they're already dead. Walks away.
And they fall in half because he's already bisected them.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so the fight between Lisa and Cars happens. Lisa's looking at Cars and realizes that there's something odd about Cars. I'm sensing no actual desire,
malevolence.
Not just malevolence, but he's not getting ready to fight. This is really weird. But then he disappears, and she senses somebody coming out of the pillar behind her, uses her scarf to kill them. But it looks like Cars, but it was just a vampire he disguised as himself, so that he could use that as a distraction to kill it, to basically kick her ass. Because Cars actually is completely, utterly fake honorable.
Yeah, he's totally a dirty fighter.
He does not give two flying fucks about fighting fair in any way, shape, or form. And
I am beyond honor. Screw you.
Only reason he was doing it all was out of basically, respect for his two brothers, who are now both dead, so he doesn't care. It's like, the only people I give a damn about were AC/DC and Wham. They're dead. Fuck it, I'm done now.
Right.
So, as an aside, we also find out round about this point why he wants the stone. Is he needs it for a special mask he's made, to basically grant the vampire power to Pillarmen, so they can be, which in theory will make them immune to the sun. He wants to conquer the sun.
Well, it's not even that. They keep referring to it as the perfect being.
Right.
He wants to become Cell, basically.
Basically,
yes. And
he needs it for the mask, because and they found stone similar to it, but they need one that's particularly large and perfect, like specifically the one that at least Lisa's been guarding.
Yeah.
The Stone of Asia.
Yeah, and Joseph at this point, after Lisa's beaten, he comes flying up. Well, he was thinking about it, but the rest of the vampires are surrounding him. They're about to kick his ass when cue von Stroheim's music. Oh my God, it's Stroheim's music.
with UV cannons.
Superior German engineering has given me laser beams in my shoulders that are UV based.
Well, to be fair, he's not the one who invented the laser cannons. That was the Speedwagon Foundation.
Yes, it's von Stroheim and the German army and the Speedwagon Foundation.
So they're proceeding to basically fight the vampires with UV laser blasters.
Nazis versus vampires.
It's amazing.
So it gives Jojo time to go up and fight cars.
Because no matter who loses, we all win.
Yeah. It turns out, so Cars has not actually killed Lisa. He's left her alive because he's expecting Jojo to come up and fight him. And he's going to use her basically as leverage because he's an asshole.
He starts giving it the whole, I know exactly what you're going to do, therefore everything I do is absolutely precise and specific. And yes, I've done massive damage to her, but she's not dead because I know that she's your weakness and blah blah blah. And
so he basically
it's all just
he threads a rope through her leg because
Yeah.
and basically drops her off the thing they're fighting on, which is over these bunch of sharp crystal things, forcing Jojo to catch the rope and stay in one position, basically, to keep her from falling. And he basically comes up to fight him. Jojo basically, uses the rope to swing and kick at him. And Cars is like, okay, look, dude, I can cut the rope at any time. Just stay there and let me kill you.
Well, I don't wanna, because I'm a jerk.
Yeah.
And so, so Joseph lights his scarf on fire. As a sort of, I'm doing this as a way to motivate myself, blah, 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 I've got a plan. And so Cars comes in, and Joseph does, I forget exactly what he does, but, he does it and so Cars like, well, fine, you're going to do that, I'll cut the rope. And, Joseph goes leaping off and stops Lisa from falling, and the rope sort of ties around Cars' leg and flings him off the roof, because Joseph's done more rope tying tricks.
Yes, because Joseph knows his shit.
And Joseph usually setting the scarf on fire to take the time to fiddle with the ropes.
Yeah, it was nothing but a distraction. He was all, I'm going to burn this, and it's Caesar's scarf, and I'm going to burn this, and to motivate the flames burning my skin will motivate me. And it's like, just keep talking, just keep talking, just keep talking.
Don't look at what I'm doing. Don't look at what I'm doing.
yeah, basically the entire time.
It's amazing. And so Cars goes plummeting off and gets impaled on the rocks.
Yes.
Below. And the vampires have been dealt with. Hooray. Speedwagon's there with Smokey. They're talking about it. Smokey's like, we should totally tell, like, what's the deal with this? And so, Speedwagon basically spills the beans about Lisa being Joseph's mom. Smokey's like, we should tell him, and Speedwagon tells him, well, only if she says yes, allows it to happen, because she specifically asked him not to know. And he basically proceeds to explain the whole tragic backstory of the Joestars dying young,
right?
Joestar men dying young, and Joseph dying, Jonathan dying, and his son George. He died. He was a pilot for the English during World War I. Did very well. He's one of the ones that didn't get shot down in the first day or so. Because World War I fighter pilots had a horrifying mortality rate.
Yeah, they were in a lot.
Dude, they were flying around in kites with engines. What did you expect?
Yeah, and machine guns. But it turns out that his commanding officer was one of Dio's ghouls.
Because of course he was.
Who'd been really fucking careful not to let things tip. And George discovered it and confronted him, not realizing that he had literally no hope against him and got killed.
He was also a particularly gruesome ghoul. They made it because he didn't want to. He didn't want to become discovered. So he never allowed anybody else to become ghouls. So he ate everything.
Yeah, literally the entire body, bones and all.
Like crunching bones and everything else. Yeah.
So
it's tasty.
So Lisa finds out about it. Because they were happily married and in love.
Yes, because at the time, although George was part of the family, he wasn't a hormone user.
Whereas Lisa not only had natural talent, but had been trained by straights.
Yes.
So she's like, okay, fine, and goes off to kill the ghoul, and does.
And fucking immolates him.
Yes.
Unfortunately, nobody knew that he was a ghoul. Just saw her standing over the burning body of their commanding officer.
Yeah.
So she kind of had to go on the lam. And the Speedwagon Foundation protected her, basically, and, made sure it seemed like she was dead, and she was off, and so she went off to Italy.
Changed her name, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, she changed her name. I forget her initial name. I forget her actual name. I forgot what it is.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, yeah.
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 Elizabeth and George.
Yeah.
That's not a link at anything.
Oh, dear Lord. Of course it's Elizabeth. George.
Yeah.
Right, of course. So at any rate, so they basically the Germans see, everyone sees, cars there lying impaled. So they bring up a giant fuck off UV laser cannon.
Yes.
Blast him with.
Yes.
But Cars has actually managed to sneak the stone into the mask he had, because he had the stone. And they blast him with the UV cannon as he's put the mask on, thus transforming him into the perfect being.
Yes. So clearly the best thing to do at this point is to notice that there's a squirrel over there, have my hand turn into a squirrel, go make friends with that squirrel, and then devour it, and then go running off and murder a couple dozen German soldiers for returning to my hand.
Yeah, so Cars can basically transform his body at will. Now. He is now immune to the sun and can transform his body into anything living that he can think of.
Well, that's the thing they say, that beforehand the Pillarmen had absolute control over their own bodies. Now Cars has absolute control over life.
Yep,
is what they refer to it.
And so everyone's like, "Oh God, he's basically unkillable now." Fuck. And so Joseph's like, "Well, he's gonna come after me first, so leg it. Get him to chase me. Everybody else get the hell away."
Yep.
And he goes running off. Smokey runs after him to try to tell him about his mom. But before he can do that, he leaps off a cliff down to the water to hop into one of the Germans' planes to fly away. Cars goes after him, turning his arms into wings, because he can do this now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Starts shooting feathers that he's made as hard as steel into the plane, which he later turns into Piranha.
Because awesome.
Every independent part of Cars' body can now become its own individual life form.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he literally turns feathers into armadillo plates, which he then throws, like wing blades, Archangel X-Men style.
Yep.
Into through the cockpit of this plane, and
through the hull of the plane too.
Through the hull of the plane, yeah. And like a couple of hours later, while they're flying along, Jojo's like, "Well, I can't keep this up forever. What's going to happen?" Ow! What the fuck is that? Turns around, there's a piranha on his shoulder.
Yes.
What?
So Joseph comes up with a plan. He sees an active volcano somewhat nearby. And so
he's flown back towards Italy, so he's over Vesuvius and all that sort of shit.
Or what? It's some Mediterranean island volcano, which I don't think actually existed at the time, but who fucking cares? So he lures Cars in closer by flinging out a parachute with a dummy in it, which Cars thinks is him leaping out of the plane. So he goes to attack it and goes, "Well, fuck, that wasn't him." At which point Jojo rams Cars with the plane to drive him into the volcano. And Cars is like, "Well, fuck, I'll just turn myself back to a normal person and get off the plane and I'll be fine." At which point a cybernetic hand comes flying out of nowhere and grabs him by the throat.
And pins him to the plane.
Because von Stroheim
again!
Von Stroheim is stowed away in one of the pontoons.
Yes.
Superior German engineering!
Yeah, it was very cold in there.
So the plane's diving into the volcano, and von Stroheim basically tells him, "Okay, Jojo, just jump out. Don't trust me, but I don't have a parachute. Just jump out." So he does. Von Stroheim catches him and uses his cybernetic body to absorb the shock, destroying his lower body in the process, but saving Jojo's life. Yeah. And they see Cars get driven into the volcano by the plane. And Cars comes sort of climbing out of the lava and then gets sunk back in on fire. And they've won. Hooray! Except no, because Cars is a cheating bastard.
Yeah, he shows him come out of it, and he's like, I need this is hot. I need armor like a crab. Okay, armors himself up. He's like, no, it's not working. It's melting. It's melting. And he sinks back under.
So what he ends up doing is basically, creating a layer of armor on the outside, and then basically creating water bubbles to come out. Which then get turned into steam, which creates more bubbles below, etc. Just constantly doing it, giving him enough time to find the side of the volcano, the rock inside the volcano, and tunnel into it.
Yeah,
it buys him enough time to survive.
Giving himself a cold pocket in lava.
Because he's a cheating fucking bastard.
Yep, he's a jerk.
And he comes tunneling up out, arm blades, and cuts off one of Joseph's arms. Joseph tries to use Hamon on him. Kars points out that now is the perfect being. He can use Hamon and has more Hamon power available to him. And basically sets one of Jojo's legs on fire. And then comes in to kill him, and Jojo instinctually holds up the redstone of Asia, which Kars' hand hits, and the Hamon is basically just nullified. And because the redstone of Asia is, designed to work with and against Hamon.
Well, no, it doesn't nullify it.
It blasts back at him, doesn't it?
No, it's designed to magnify and overpower whatever's basically fired into it. So as he punches it with a Hamon punch, it absorbs all of Kars' massive energy, which he claims is more powerful than the sun. And if you notice, it's a very quick thing, but the energy blasts out the other side through Jojo's hand.
That's right, blasts through Jojo's hand, right, yes.
And into the floor.
Which causes that's what causes
volcano.
The explosion. Right, causing an explosion, causing the bit of landmass they're on to go flying up into the air at incredible speeds.
Yes.
At a velocity, no less.
Yes. It goes fucking orbital.
And so Kars is basically starts trying to fly away, and we have Jojo's last...
and his wings get shredded by all the shrapnel and stone and bits of lava thrown up by the explosion.
So
at this point, Jojo says, "Ha! All according to plan. You think I didn't set this up? I didn't, but it's going to drive him nuts."
Well, the best part is it's before as Kars about to say something. Jojo basically says, "And now you're going to say, Jojo, did you think was this your plan all along?" Jojo, was this your plan all along? Yes, it was. I'd planned it from the very start. It's complete fabrication, but it'll drive him nuts. And Kars goes flying off into space.
Yes, because it turns out that, again, they might have known guys like Sun Tzu, but they've never seen a sci-fi movie. They don't know how space works.
He's like, okay, well, fine. Okay, this is bad. I'm freezing, but this is okay. I can do the wind jet thing that, that Wam could do, and I'll use that to fly myself back down. And the water vapor in the air is freezing around me and freezing me solid, and I can't actually. Oh fuck! And he's frozen solid and goes drifting off through space forever.
He's like, well, fine, I'll generate wings. Why aren't they?
Why there's nothing for them to push against?
Anything work? Oh, they're frozen now. Oh, great.
And so he is frozen solid, drifting through space forever, never dying. Because he's actually immortal.
They actually describe it. It's like he goes for so long, never dying, never thawing out, and eventually his brain just shuts down.
He just can't. He stops thinking.
He just stops thinking because fuck it. And it's exactly what the fucker deserved.
Yes.
Such a cruel way to finish anyone, even a villain.
Yeah,
but it's so satisfying. Like you've got shows like Dragon Ball. It was a contemporary at the time. It's like even some of the biggest bads would get that little bit of the hero would always offer them that last second salvation. They'd spit it in his face, but the hero would always go, "Okay, you've got one last chance to repent."
Right.
No, I'll never do that. It's like, what? This is Jojo's like, no, fuck you, dude. Bang zoom to the moon.
If only he'd been able to go to the moon.
Yeah, we ever seen what happens when the ultimate being goes to the moon? They measure the gravity, then they jump back.
Thank you, Saitama. But at any rate, Joseph, the landmass goes crashing back down, and it looks like Joseph's dead. Because Joestars die young. And we cut
Right.
back to New York at the funeral where, Irina, Speedwagon, Lisa, Machina, all of the
Basically,
people,
anyone that we know isn't dead at this point has shown up to the funeral, barring von Stroheim.
one person is not there.
Oh, yes, sorry, yeah.
At which point a car pulls up, and Joseph comes striding out of it and says, "Hey guys, how you guys doing? I got
who died?
I just got back down. Heard you guys were at a funeral. Wonder who died. Wait, what? This is my funeral. Wait, what?" And he turns back, and there's Susie Q having gotten out of the car with him.
Susie, didn't you? Is this why no one showed up to our wedding? You didn't tell anyone?
You said you were going to send a telegram. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot.
Yeah, I forgot.
Because the two of them, because he was found by the Germans, I think. And von Stroheim
by von Stroheim, yeah.
Von Stroheim built him a cyber arm, had a cyber arm built for him, and dropped him off with Susie Q in Italy, who basically nursed Joseph back to health, and they got married, and he's now back in New York, and it's basically a happy ending, Joseph's a little annoyed with Susie because, she didn't tell anyone he was alive.
Yeah.
I guess she was too busy working out the plans of the wedding. I don't know. But yeah, and that's basically, we get basically epilogues at this point. So we're talking about what happened with everybody else. Like, Irina lived at least another decade before she died of old age, surrounded by the people she loved, spending the rest of her life teaching. Speedwagon died,
in his 90s of a heart attack or something like that.
Died of a heart attack and is around about at 90, about the same time Irina did. Von Stroheim, went off a proud German soldier and died at Stalingrad. Poor bastard.
Yeah.
He survived the Pillar Man just to go to Stalingrad.
Yeah, Stalingrad was not a good time for anyone involved.
No. Nobody won at Stalingrad. Nobody.
No.
Joseph and Lisa had a kid. They had a daughter who met a man from Japan and moved to Japan with him. Which is why Joseph doesn't like the Japanese, because they took his daughter away from him.
But he does like his Walkman.
So the show ends with him basically going off to Japan for some reason or another to catch up with his daughter and meet his grandson for the first time in 18 years. Doesn't like the Japanese, but he does like his Walkman. And then we get the final bit of epilogue where there's some fishermen outside, treasure hunters outside of the Canary Islands, who bring up this coffin, which has the name Dio written on the side.
Yeah, wonder what that is.
And that's where the show ends.
Yes. Now, that's my one question that I will mention now we've brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
I seem to have been misremembering things. So I thought Irina and the baby got in the coffin.
They got in one of Dio's coffins, yes.
So where did this coffin come from?
He didn't have multiple coffins? This is fucking Dio.
How did he get to it? He died in Joseph's arms.
There was another one in the room. Actually, okay, this is not a big spoiler. I will tell you this, Gav. Yeah, before the ship sank, he cut Joseph's head and stuck his head on Joseph's body and marched it over to the coffin.
Ah.
Or Jonathan, sorry.
That's amazing!
Yep. So Dio in the next series is actually Dio's head on Jonathan's body.
That's amazing. I adore this.
I think that's one of the most interesting parts of it, actually. So you just brought it up in the chat there. The fact that there is so much space between the stories.
Yes.
It's like we go from late 70s England to 1870s England, sorry, to the start of the World War One. The next time we pick it up for season 3, it's 1983. I'm like, I was born that year. That's a jump.
The timeline jumps slow down after that. I'm going to say this.
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to say,
so we're not going to end up at the 3037 JoJo?
No. Well, maybe at some point. Who knows?
Maybe at some point. He runs into Buck Rogers.
But that is covering what happens in JoJo's. God damn, we love the show. I think we all love the show. A few other things we should probably touch on. Some of the character designs are amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
And as weird as they are, and this is the weird thing. It's already been brought up in the chat, and it's something we did discuss when we were watching it. It's like, not only does this show reference a hell of a lot of things for its time, but other things that you don't even think have referenced this show. You have seen a JoJo reference, even if you've never watched or heard of JoJo.
Oh God, yes, all over the
Guarantee
place.
you.
Oh wow, is that a motherfucking Persona reference?
Yes. Have you played Street Fighter by any chance?
Yeah, because
Guile's hairdo is Guile is based on
Kyle's American von Stroheim.
Giles' head is based on von Stroheim's. His body is based on Polnareff's.
Right.
He's a character from part 3.
Yeah.
Like all sorts of shit like this. JoJo's is immensely influential.
Yeah.
All over the fucking place. The manga is... Oh my god.
It's becoming much more influential here in the States because the manga was never terribly popular over here because it was never really brought over. And the first anime adaptation was not good.
I actually know a lot of people when it came out who absolutely fucking adored it.
Really? Okay.
I
haven't seen it. I'm just remembering that like it was considered not good.
It doesn't stand up to the quality of this version of it, is what it boils down to.
Okay. Because this version's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah. Honestly, I've watched parts of the original anime adaptation, which is of Stardust Crusaders, the next part. The biggest problem it has is it starts too late in the story, in my opinion. It doesn't set the groundwork that I think it needed to have. It's good. I think it's still good. It's just the 93. It came out in 93, so you know it was good for the time. And it just didn't. Anime wasn't quite as big then, is what it boils down to.
Fair enough.
Like I've watched parts of it. I've not watched all of it, but I thought it was pretty good.
I mean, I haven't seen it. It's just what I've read elsewhere is that it wasn't good.
It's just not as well done, and it's not as faithful to the manga.
That's probably the issue. Is that it was not a faithful adaptation.
At any rate, yeah. But like, I love this the how beautifully they capture the style and theme of the manga when it came out.
Yes. Oh no, this show desperately wants it to be the friggin' 80s. Like one look at this, you're like, this should have been animated in the 80s, except the frame rate's too high.
It does all sorts of really interesting stuff with like palette changes in scenes for dramatic tension and shit for you know.
Yes.
It does a lot of really interesting stuff with that sort of thing. It uses the music brilliantly. There are a number of times with the to be continued thing that's become a meme with Yes' Roundabout, which is the ending theme for season 1.
That song makes less sense in this show.
Yes, lyrically you were correct, but like there are several times when they use the intro like string bit of Roundabout during like the wind up to the end of the episode perfectly. It's.
No, the use of music is really strong in the show.
Yeah, you can hear it coming, and it's like, oh god, it builds up the cliffhanger because it's like, oh, okay, I can hear that song. The song's playing. It's not got to the bit that the to be continued bit, the riff, but you can hear it coming. It's like, oh, okay, this is going to end here. This is going to lead. It builds it up.
The first time they nailed that, they hit it that perfectly is the bit right before Zeppeli fights Tarkus.
Yes.
As he's coming in to actually start the fight, and it's absolutely pitch perfect, and it's like it raises goosebumps, honestly. But seriously, the way they use music, Eric, if this is one of the shows I cannot judge the animation on. I'm too wrapped up in everything else.
Here's the thing: at first glance, the show's animation doesn't seem that good. Simply because it's it's stylized so heavily in that, like, this is the North Star style look. But, like, the frame rate's up there. It's well animated. And what's even more impressive is it successfully impersonates a series from like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, that's
Like,
sort
to
of
the point where if you didn't know what to look for, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, it's like it is intentionally doing stuff that looks not that that looks dated, but
Yes.
it's intentional, which is really that was my impression, but I wasn't sure. And it's fucking awesome. And
Yes.
oh my, we also have to before we go any further, the opening sequences, the openings for the
Yes.
show.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the music, Sonochino Sadame and Bloody Ruin are both great songs. But it's not just the songs for them. Like, the intro sequences are this really interesting CG style they do.
Yes.
Which works really fucking well.
I don't think it would work to do the show in that.
No.
But it works for an opening.
It works brilliantly for the opening. And, like, as you're watching it, like, after watching the rest of the show, you can go back and look at the opening and see how the opening for each part tells the story of that part.
Yes.
And each one also begins with this really cool sequence of the pages from the manga of the JoJos going back in time to the one they're getting to, which is really fucking cool.
I had to have that explained to me because I'm not familiar with the other JoJos.
Right, whereas I am.
Yes.
Yeah. It's wow. So I guess we're going to go into final thoughts. Eric, then Gav, then I'll wrap it up since it was my recommendation.
All right. So I guess I'm first.
Yep.
I really liked this show. I'm probably going to go and watch the next series in there. And Jesus Christ, like the first one's a little dry, but Dio fucking carries it because Dio is amazing. And wow, yes, the second JoJo is the best JoJo. Like, I haven't seen the other ones, doesn't matter. Second JoJo is the best JoJo. Also, there's a Nazi cyborg with a belly gun and laser cannons on his shoulder.
And the Pillarmen.
And the Pillarmen are just this... I adore the Pillarmen. They're just the most flamboyantly fabulous, sashaying, like, posing pretty boys that are just all about all kinds of, like, horrific body horror with, like, flashing tendrils and ripped spears and arm blades. I love the Pillarmen. They're great. And it does a really... Again, with the exception of the first JoJo, who was bland as fuck, everyone else is really well realized, very distinct characters. Like, this show deserves the hype it gets. I don't say that often, but this show, it is not overrated. And I guess that's my opinion, because that's the highest praise you can give.
Yeah, this is one of those shows, I'll be honest with you, the first season, I was having trouble getting into it. And I said as much to the guys, I was like, look,
Yep.
I probably wouldn't have continued with it myself. I'm glad I stuck with it, but the beginning seemed very... Until it got into its stride, it seemed kind of generic and a bit meh, and I couldn't understand where the hype was. Now, having gone all the way through, then yes, it's fucking hilarious. It's fantastic. I may go on and watch more. I am looking for a show to watch at the moment, so yes. I may go on and continue and go through and see it and look a bit more. If nothing else, whereas Nadesco taught me what baka meant, I now know what muda means.
Muda. Dio, you are amazing.
Yes, I'll admit I am tempted. I am like the major temptation to go and watch that. It's not about what continues with the Joe Star family. It's I want to see Dio back.
Yeah,
because he's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, look, it's another one of those shows where you may think to look at it the first time round, you'll think it's a little bit cliche, it's a little bit tropey and all that kind of thing. But they started a lot of the tropes. You know, you can't be tropey when you began them. So you've got to get that. You know, you've got to get past that. A lot of those early shows, 70s, 80s sort of time. That's where a lot of the shit came from. That a lot of the shows these days copy. So put that behind you, and yeah, I can't not recommend this.
And the show takes off with part 2 completely.
Yes, definitely. You need to watch part 1 because it sets up the world.
Yes.
But it gets good from 2 onwards.
And it also has Dio.
And it has Dio.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I chose this show because I finally basically I've read a bunch of the manga and finally sat down to watch part 1 a while back and watched the first episode and sort of was like, this is good. I'll come back to it later, and didn't for a long while. And I said, you know what, I'm in between stuff right now. I'm gonna give it another go. And episode 2 was an improvement. Episode 3 was like, I was like, okay, this is getting good. And then it started being like, okay, this is really good. And the first part ended. I already read the manga, so I knew what was going to happen. And I knew what was going to happen in part 2, but I wasn't expecting. I'd forgotten how much I loved Joseph until I got to part 2, and they introduced Joseph, and I'm like, and what the complete turning point in the show where I just went from liking the show, thinking it was really good and fun, to falling completely in love with it was the second Joseph pulls out the fucking Tommy gun.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I'm sold.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
I adore this show. I really, really love season 1. And I just got to reiterate all that stuff. The other thing about part 1, which is one of those things that is not really obvious until you think about it in retrospect, but this is actually true, is it was actually written, part 1 was written as a parody of that era's shonen manga, battle manga.
Yeah, you can see that.
And looking back at it now, with that in hindsight, it's like, that makes a lot of sense. But it seems to spawn its own new style of new levels of things that have become tropes in battle manga.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it is so, like, there's chunks of it that you can see, like you said, you can see Kenshiro all over Jonathan.
Yep. All over. Oh my god. So, yeah, like, and just, I love how well the story hangs together. How, like, things they establish early on get used later on in the season, and everything seems to flow together. Like, there are a lot of Joseph's tricks that he pulls doing things that almost any other show would seem like complete assholes, but they explain it and it all makes sense within sort of its own logic. It's like, oh, they are setting that up, and that actually makes sense, especially within context of the way Joseph operates. Well, fuck. Well done. And there are a few times where things are turned back around on Joseph, and he's like flummoxed, and he has his moments of doubt, and he doesn't just cleanly win all the time either. He often will snatch a small bit of, like, the first time he fights the Pillarman, he gets his ass kicked.
Yep.
It's really interesting. I have since watched most of part 3. I've watched all of season 2, and I'm partway through season 3, which is part 3 of Stardust Crusaders is actually 2 full seasons. And I've watched the first season of it and gotten partway through season 2, the second season of it. Things of note that I think you guys will appreciate. We already know Dio's in it.
Right.
Joseph is still around.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, he's actually he's one of the protagonists.
Well, he should be. If he's strong enough to beat the Pillarman, he should be kick the ass out of a fucking vampire. That's one of the reasons I want to see it. I want to see how fucking Dio's managed to get himself so powerful.
And you will find out when you watch it. I'm not going to spoil that.
Good.
But yeah, it's the new Jojo for that series is his grandson Jotaro, who is very different from Joseph, very different from Jonathan. He's his own character and is actually really cool. Season 1 of JoJo's, it is one of the best shonen shows I've ever watched. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's absurd, but its absurdity makes sense within its own context. It's great. That's all I can say. So yeah, do watch it. You will enjoy it. Is the sort of the long and short of it. So I think that's going to do it for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. God, the posing. Oh, the posing.
So much posing.
I've
Particularly
done
with the
this
Pillarmen.
Yeah.
You think, with the Pillarmen pose, you're like, that's physically impossible. It's like Rob Liefeld drew this. But they're the Pillarmen, and they break their own bones all the time to look cool.
Yeah. I've actually done this entire show in a Pillarman pose. I've been in the same pose as AC/DC this entire time.
I'm so sorry, dude.
Well,
That's okay. I've been doing the Cars thing where I had the arm all the way to the back while holding a mask.
Yeah. But it's because I sneezed too hard at work, so I've pretty much been stuck like that.
So, anyways, that's going to do it for this episode. We're going to be starting the new show, I think, this weekend, assuming Gav is not dead.
If I survive, we may do.
Yes.
So, Eric, what is the next show we're doing since it's your choice this time?
Well, seeing as everyone else, seeing as you did Bebop and Gav did Outlaw Star, I guess that leaves me with Trigon, so I'll do Trigon.
Oh, we're going to be doing
The
Trigon
trilogy
next.
completes.
Yes. The big three from the late 90s, we're going to be finishing it up.
Well, we haven't started on Evangelion yet, but we're doing the Space Western trilogy.
But we did do the forgotten child of that the forgotten stepchild, Nadesco. So
Right.
I'm still going to keep bringing that show up. God damn, I love that show.
You get to burning, dude.
Indeed. That's going to do it for this week, guys. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.